Yo!
Bring on the wrecking machine.
November 14th. Be ready.
Bring on the wrecking machine, setting your dreams of heaven on fire. Bring on the wrecking machine. Bring on the wrecking machine. Bring on the wrecking machine. Gonna ignite your every desire. Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city you burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. For every city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtrothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is September 25th, YC125, and it is the Eve Universe Show!
Zarzakh has been waiting. An ancient nexus, long abandoned. Now ruled by the insurgents. The fearless. The deathless. Trust is rare among our kind. Yet here you are, compelled by my invitation. I offer you a haven, a fortress, hidden from the Empire. I have given it life. It feeds on me. And in return, it yields knowledge, gifts, power. forces, from chaos on the front lines. Harness the might of Capsuleers with the promise of riches. And together, we will unlock Zarzakh's secrets. One by one.
So I have one question for you. Are you going to become invited? This is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, 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 welcome from Zarzakh, live from Zarzakh, the only news show to come live to you from the front lines of Zarzakh. Here we are at
We will now go live.
We're at the construction yard. Here I can prove it's live. Here we go. I can turn the camera and everything. This is Zarzakh. Let me actually get rid of some of this chat for a second. Actually, I think I have a full... There we go. We could do that. This is Zarzakh. Ooh, ah. It's one of the most prettiest systems in all of EVE. You can see the wormhole point of no return is basically sucking up matter from the AO blue star that you can see off to the left here. We are outside of a pristine Jovian observatory, where you can also see that the shipcaster has been under construction by the Deathless. I'm not going to be showing you all of everywhere because this is an incredibly dangerous zone, and every time I warp, it is very, very risky. But I did manage to come in here just to be able to show you the inside of Zarzakh for our first day. We can actually see... actually, rather than show you this way, I'm going to probably pull up a different way of showing you this. Let's see. Can I just pull up my videos? Yeah. I can just add that. So this is me in Zarzakh. You can see that I've just crossed through the threshold. And you can see that my danger has gone from, let me just show that again. You can see my safety goes from green. I cross through the threshold, it goes to red. And several seconds later, you can see the boundary behind me. And now it is turned to the yellow-red that indicates that I'm now taking damage. And you can see that I'm going to start taking hull damage, and you can see the effects on the top of the screen as well. No, I'm not going to pull a CCP and almost die. It does create an interesting particle effect, especially once you get back in. I don't know if that's because of the cloaked, because I was cloaked. But if you notice, none of this, including the damage, actually pulled me out of my cloak. So, something to keep in mind. There it is. Get rid of that. Okay, but here we are in Zarzakh. I'm in my Stratios. Just thought you guys would appreciate it. So what we got for today, what we have for today, oh shoot, I need to put my chat back on now. I think we still have chat. We should be good. So what we're going to watch today is on day 2, they did the art panel and then the Havoc panel. Now, this is actually one of the reasons why I didn't stream Saturday. I was supposed to, but like the video that I was watching, they took down halfway through it, so then I was confused about whether or not they wanted us to watch it. Are the visual effects visible for other players when you are cloaked? I don't know. I haven't figured that out. I haven't tried that yet. They didn't kill me. I haven't seen it happen. Although I will say that when we came in here with 4 Marauders and some escort. And we killed some dudes, and then we got butchered by a whole bunch of TFIs with literally 15 plus Logi. so we couldn't hurt anything. So I was like, okay, well, this is fun. But no, we got some kills ahead of time at the beginning, including Bjorn B, which was fun. And there was a, by the way, word of advice. Here's your first big warning about Zarzakh. Do not worship. Do not warp to the. Do not worship Zarzakh. Do not warp to the Stargates at 100. Okay, the security field around the Stargates is approximately 80 kilometers wide. If you warp at 100, your ship will blow up. All right. We had a Arazu that was dancing around us at 100 kilometers, so that way we couldn't hurt him. But then he blew up by the wall. And so it's worth remembering, like, when you start taking the damage, you have that like 5 seconds of lead time before you start taking damage, which means if you're just hauling ass and you're waiting till you take damage, by the time you start taking damage, you're going to be already like in deep trouble. Yeah, if you warp to, I got lucky that I warped to 100 at a Stargate, and then I warped again before it managed to crush me. But I did notice as I was entering the warp that it flipped back to being safe, which means I wasn't safe ahead of time. And then I double checked and I got to 80 kilometers. And as you saw in that video, you start getting eaten at about 80. Now, the Fulcrum has a much larger sphere around it. However, I did warp into, depending on where you're warping into the Fulcrum from, if you're warping into the Fulcrum from a lower angle, there's a really good chance that you might warp into the middle of the Fulcrum's structure, which almost got my Stratios killed yesterday. You can see the shield, the boundary, begin to shimmer there. And of course, when you get close, you actually can see the Zarzakh safety symbol appear on the boundary. Enjoy the Thunderdome while it lasts. Gate guns and guards likely coming soon. Yes, also along with that, the ability to dock. Once we can dock in the Fulcrum, it won't be quite as Thunderdome-y. But remember, the police are going to be supportive of pro-deathless people. Not necessarily good or bad, but like they'll maintain their own definition of peace. Now, here's the crazy part, okay? Before we even go into the actual videos, let's talk about a little bit of speculation. Because what we do know is that the next event is coming this week. It should be coming this week. And this is the precursor event to the, basically the formation of these alliances. So what we pretty much know is that the Angels and the Garistas are going to need us in order to do something. And they're going to reward us with the destroyers, right? So chances are we might help build up Zarzakh, but hear me out. So Zarzakh as a system has no bubbles, no bombs, no bushes, no D-scan, no probes, no safes, no bookmarks, no nothing, right? The only thing that exists are these 6 grids. I said 7 before, it is 6. Because the sun doesn't have a grid, because the sun doesn't have a Jovian structure besides the station. It does have bushes. No, people tried bushes and it didn't work. I have on reasonably decent authority that there are no bushes. Yes, emplacements look like they shoot Scourge Rage torpedoes. Wrote did it day 1 and it worked. People were trying it just yesterday. Oh, okay, fine. We will put bushes back on the maybe pile. But either way, the point is that people are very, very, very difficult to catch here. If you're sub 2 second, you can basically use Zarzakh as freedom. Hey! Thank you for that, Sheesh. What is a boosh? A boosh is when there are command destroyers that can forcibly teleport people 100 kilometers with them. We call that booshing them. What's up, Vincent? So the idea is that if you have the ability to boosh people in Pochvin, you could, or
Mount up.
if you have the ability to boosh in Zarzakh, you could literally just assassinate people. You can smart bomb. Well, that's an interesting point. So because of the fact that there are only 6 grids, and 2 of them are next to each other, the observatory and this the fulcrum are actually really close to each other. So from the different stargates, there's basically only 20 different places where you can land from, because you can't land from an odd angle. You have to come from one of the other 4 directions. And there's no D-scan. So at any given you can micro jump, but you can't boosh. You can use a micro jump drive, but not a boosh, from my understanding. Anywho, so the point is that it's incredibly easy to be slippery in this site, but it's also impossible to know what is at a site before you go there. Like right now, at the fulcrum, there could be 100 people there, and there's no way for me to be able to tell without physically going there myself. I won't know until I land on grid what is there. So there's a new event happening. My prediction is that there will be new Jovian structures that will be discovered within Zarzakh that will function like new anomalies, which will make local protection fields that we will have to go and raid and plunder in order to turn in for the Deathless, right? But that's the problem. It's one system with these sites that anyone can warp to, and you don't know who's there, and you don't know who's coming in. Good luck, guys. That's what I expect to be at least some level of this event that's coming. Who knows? You might be warping into 4 Marauders at 0, as one Gnosis discovered. So that's my prediction for where we're going with this. So all that said, let's go ahead and start looking at the video. By the way, let's take this opportunity to remind everybody that I do this for you guys. If you want to thank me, if any of this is useful, if you like this skybox that I've brought to you, please make sure to like the stream, share it with people. It's a huge deal. Like the difference between last week's stream or yesterday's, or like the last stream, where it got a huge amount of likes, and a normal stream was really, really big. It got picked up by, it does really good for YouTube's algorithm. It means a lot. So, moving on. So we have, hopefully I don't die. Okay, somebody could theoretically, so because I can't change my camera, I technically cannot, I can't really hide where I am. So in theory, somebody could actually get me, but we're going to hope for the best. Okay. This is not what we're looking for. Oh, also, I do want to remind everybody, as I said, if you are interested in taking part of this, not remind, but I want to announce, if you are interested in taking part of this, drumroll please, there is a new alliance known as the Invited. The Order of Thelemic Ascension, which is my corporation, is currently recruiting, but we are also recruiting corporations potentially in order to build up a network of people to help out with the efforts of the Deathless in corrupting the war zone. So who are the invited? We are the Invited are an in-game alliance dedicated to forwarding the objectives of the Deathless Circle and their reign of chaos and havoc throughout New Eden. Our objectives are to support the Fulcrum and as a fully service base of operations. I need to spell right. Secure and fortify the system of Turner. Fully corrupt as many systems as possible with a focus on high security system. Establish and secure networks of traffic via Pochfin, Zarzakh, and the wormholes connected to Turner anomaly. So, if you're interested, go ahead and hop in our COE comms. We're going to be building up stuff. If you are a corporation and are looking to get into the alliance, or if you are an alliance looking to take part with our new coalition, we're bringing people together right now. So consider joining the Invited. But with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into the FanFest Day 2. We're going to start with the art panel and then move on to the Havoc panel.
CCP Vertex.
I have not actually seen the art panel yet. I kind of put off watching it to watch it live with you guys.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see you all. My name is Ben, also known as
Well, you would theoretically be able to join, but you'd be joining Angel Faction Warfare. So it might change your play style a little bit.
CCP Vertex, and I'm the development director of our core technology group known as Platform. I've been around EVE since the early beta in 2002, so this is actually my 13th FanFest overall. It's really good to see so many familiar faces and friends. Having been around for the past 2 decades means that I've had the privilege of witnessing the evolution of EVE over the 20 years, and how we're constantly tweaking and improving things, modernizing the game, the look and the feel. Crafting the best visceral experience is something we put a lot of effort into. We take a lot of pride in that, because we want you to have...
Sorry, apparently we have a lot of stuff to go over. This is called the Building Blocks of New Eden. We might actually go over this a different day, just so that we have enough time to go over the stuff that we're supposed to go over. I didn't realize there's 3 videos, and we don't have a ton of time today, so let's go ahead and skip this for the art panel for now. I think this is the art panel? Wait, hold on. Actually, this looks like it's fine. Let's watch this.
The most visceral experience possible, the most immersive experience possible. And the last 2 decades, we've come a very long way in that journey. From EVE in the early alpha, all the way back in 2001, where the look and feel wasn't well defined at that point, to the open and closed beta periods of 2002.
Do we want to watch this, or do we want to skip
we're
ahead?
constantly evolving that look and feel. Modernizing the
I don't know how
engine
much I have to
capabilities,
input on this.
the art pipelines, we've released countless 3D model redesigns, texture and shader updates, completely overhauling the lighting and visual effects, to the graphics API upgrades, moving from DirectX 9 to 11, and now we're on 12.
I think I'm going to...
This transformation represents 2 decades worth of modernization effort.
But I'm not going to make you guys sit through this. This is you guys listen to me because I know this shit, and I can tell you it like off the top of my head when something's interesting. So we'll look at some of the art stuff, and then... Oh, no. Here's the proper art panel. Okay, let's go for the art panel. Art panel's good. Art panel's good. If we want to, we can always come back. Leave a comment down below if you want me to go back and watch the other one.
Yo. Thank you for a great couple of days so far. Thank you for a great pop call yesterday.
Become one of the invited.
From Team 13 here? Team 13! Yes! Nice. Okay. I am CCP Blue Screen.
And I'm CCP Benson.
And yeah, it's great to see you all again. Back at FanFest.
Try Lambda.
As you are hopefully aware, we are here representing Team Tri Lambda, the art and graphics team of EVE Online, and building a better universe is what we do. So 20 years ago, this is how it all started. And it was beautiful back then, and it really was. And all the years since, we've been hard at work, keeping the aesthetics fresh and cutting edge as ever. Many steps as pertain towards that. So I've been here for about 15 years. I remember making 2 of these assets back in the day, authoring effects on gates. There was a premium client and a basic client. Don't remember if you remember that. I don't know if you remember that. That was, now it's just called high and low settings. And then in 2007, along came Trinity with a huge graphics update. One of the many milestones. Later came the V3
Everybody talks
overhaul.
about the Trinity update. Nobody talks about boots.ini.
And that soon moved on to V5, where we introduced the PBR-based shaders, updated textures, and this included many major polish to textures and shader updates.
PBR stands for physics-based rendering.
Plus, where we reintroduced the 4th material that we lost in the initial PBR conversion, And we also added the adjustable dirt maps that we have today. And then just recently, we gave Eve another all-around polish with what we called the Delete the Gray initiative. And so with these and countless other updates, shader developments and model texture updates and effects updates, tech additions, and with the ongoing ship redesign initiative, we continue like with the Rifter here. Getting
The new Rifter design is so
new
good.
recent update here and refined design. So from 20 years ago until today, looks something like this.
So one of the things I did end up doing this weekend was the Angel Epic arc. And if you can get into it, it bootstraps your standings real fast.
Screen's got bigger. But we're never done. As much work as we put into adding and supporting new features with graphics, we spend probably the same amount of time keeping everything fresh, updating and maintaining like existing content. And so this year, we, for instance, updated all of the 68 Empire frigates, gave them a major effects love pass. So many features, new features and lights have been developed since they were last touched. So yeah, they all got a pass. And you know, we're not done with these, but this is, yeah, amazing. And also this is tied to the warp states. Many of these lights making things more dynamic. Here the lights turns red for the warping animation. And also other effects as it added, just like when it comes out of warp here, you see that little poof, gas cloud from the back. But yeah, we didn't stop with the frigates. Also the Marauders.
There's no one in this game nerdier about Eve than the art team. I swear to God.
Received a comprehensive effects update, updating the Bastion modules along with just a general effects pass. So all in all, we try.
I was very
feel we do
unimpressed
pretty
by the
well
Marauder
at,
update. Like the visuals
at
are
updating
not
these things, but
striking.
it is, of course, hard.
The Golem
to
looks
please
really
all
good,
the pilots
but like
all of the
my
time.
Paladin looks basically the same.
Current graphic effects are kind of weak. That's rough. So, yeah, this is something our lead effects artist, CCP Mirke, found roaming the Eve subreddits. He was not
Oh, no!
impressed, obviously.
I've done a pub crawl with that guy. He's awesome. It's so cool.
Outdated torpedo effect. So Mirke here had to do something about it. So our effects department went straight ahead and went to work on the missile impact effects. The missiles will now explode outwards in opposite direction of impact vector, which looks and feels right. Aside from the thermal ones, just had to be a sphere because it just looks great and it also really differentiates it from the other ones. And also for the first time now, the missile impacts will be contributing lighting to their surrounding environments. This really ties it together. You see
Very
here
good.
on the gate on the right side here. So that's awesome. And here, going from what they looked like before, gameplay readability of the impact should now be immediate, like through the shape, language, and visuals. So it's super important that you can tell the damage type of whether you're being hit with kinetic, explosive, electromagnetic, or thermal missiles. So yeah, that is just important when we introduce new gameplay. You know that the players
It's
can
strangely
tell what they
difficult to
actually
tell
do.
the
So now
EM
they
and the
look
kinetic
like what
apart
they
unless
are.
you see it at the very beginning of the blast.
So a bit of subreddit CCP please does actually work from time to time. Yeah. And so speaking about visual language, you all got a new way of expressing yourself in space this year with the Skinner and the new structure skins. So for art, there wasn't a lot of actual content work on the structures themselves. Many of us, the upper structures that we have included in this were ready for this. There was a lot of technical work, so our graphics programmers were more busy probably than us in this feature here. There was a lot of stuff to integrate the space object factory and make this work with that. But for us, it was more about looking at palettes,
The Space Object Factory is their device, like it's their tool to like create things in space by the rendering engine. This is a common concept in programming where you have like it's called a factory, where things can't just instantiate an object on its own because the objects are too specific. So you basically have an object creation factory and that takes in an input of the details about that thing, and it spits out a completed version of that object. So it's called a factory paradigm. So very common. So in order for something to exist in the renderer, it has to be handed through the space object factory.
Material areas, what material areas to use and what not. And materials, just like the different types of materials, color shades, building a library for this, basically. And then trying out different combination and testing setups. And how it all comes out. Also looking a bit forward. Here we're trying.
I wish that the previewer would allow us to test it under different lighting conditions.
Yet, but you know, you never know. Maybe it'll come. But this is just a few basic gradients used on the structures, in addition to the material areas. And but probably the biggest update on the pure content side.
What do they look for in testing? What do you mean? You would look for things like ways to get into an invalid state. Like, could you what happens if accidentally somebody manages to spawn a structure with a null skin? Or you might check for performance issues, right? You're going to be testing to find out whether or not there's any memory leaks, if anything gets cleaned up. What happens if we spawn 1,000 of these structures or ships or whatever, and then delete them all and then spawn them again and delete them all? Does that all, work? And then also just real simple things like, are all the icons in the correct spot? Very, very frequently. That's just the balance between the two. I'll turn up their presentation as well. But all too frequently, they'll come out with things just a little bit out of alignment or whatever. So those are the kind of things that at least on an art level, things are happening. Because so this is the sort of thing that's like, okay, well, what if I don't have any emblems, right? But I swap between a ship and then I quickly manage to swap between another ship before the session changes over. Well, I might end up in like a pseudo illegal state. And in this case, it tries to pull up whether or not I have a logo. And because it's in an illegal state, that returns null. And it's not expecting a null. And then you get an unhandled exception, and that's how games crash. Like it's just that simple. That's the kind of things that you're looking for in QA.
Connected to this was giving all the major upbuild structures like a lighting update. So we updated the lighting of all these structures because they really sorely needed it. Added point lights and spotlights and hazes and like new hologram details. And even added some new geometry to some of the structures with new paint areas. This was partly done simply because that we really needed to do this visual update to the structures, but also to facilitate any future possible customization of the lights of structures. By getting this up to date, we are opening up for the possibility of a future where lights is part of your structure's color palette. And that is super nice. So your lights really should match your structure's color palette. And there was a lot of
Yeah, so like in this case, one of the things that people don't necessarily see is that all of these lights not only have their own lighting setup where you have to place them and make sure that they're all being efficient or whatever. But remember, like, you don't necessarily want this object to be completely... You want to cheat as much as possible when it comes to lighting. So what you'll usually have is what's called reflective maps and reflection probes, lighting probes and reflection probes, right? So you have these other objects that are hidden, invisible. Basically, anywhere you expect a lighting to change, you put one of these probes. And so rather than each individual object determines how it reflects things and how it should be lit, What it actually does is it queries the local reflection and light probes to get their data. And then from the local probes, it basically extrapolates what its lighting should be. And that's how to get lighting very, very cheaply. But that's also why often like lighting on an object that moves a lot will be like very blank, like either it's lit or it's not, or, you know, whatever, it's much lower resolution in its lighting, is because it's using one of those cheats. But if you notice, like CCP, if you know, they said, oh, you know, the missiles are now red in the lighting. That's because the probes are now able to read active time lighting and use it in its calculation. That behind the scenes, that's what they're really saying.
A lot of tech involved in making this work. So again, yeah.
That's what they mean by that. Yeah. So there is a lot of technical work behind making that work.
But
and
quite
baking
often, art is
and
very
time.
dependent on advances in the graphics tech. So you just had a presentation on engine, and they of course let us do a lot of stuff we do. Last year we talked about the improved LOTs and meshes and the improved LOTs and textures, and also LOTing on subship objects like turrets and more stuff like that. And this year, more awesome advances has been made. Some of them you just saw if you were in the presentation before. But there were other things, like historically we've been packing all of our 8 in-game textures into 3 compressed DDS files. This means that each texture often gets a single channel to live in, which does not help its quality, can impact it quite a bit, but that is no more. Now we no longer pack our textures, we simply compress them into 8 individual DDS textures.
Okay, let me explain that real quick. So, okay. What we're looking at here is what's known as maps, okay? So this is not the actual, what's called the albedo, the color of the object. What these are doing is they're defining certain things about the actual, the texture itself. There'll be another one that's just like these with colors, and that'll be the albedo. But like this purple one is what's called the normal. And a lot of these, like one of these will be the rust map, one of these will be the reflection map. Chances are like this one right here might be the reflection map just because there's so little to it, or maybe that's a glow map. Either way, the point is that, so most of the time the map is just a measure of 0 to max, right? Either it's not dirty at all, or it's 100% dirty. It's not reflective at all, or it's 100% reflective. It's not metallic at all, or it's 100% reflective. And like, it's a grayscale, right? So the way that they do this is they actually pack 3 of those things into one image. And the reason why is because, well, actually sometimes they can get 4. So you have the red channel, the blue channel, and the green channel. So depending on how green a pixel is, may define how metallic it is. How blue a pixel is may define how the dirty it can get. And how, you know, the other color that I've missed, red, maybe? I don't know, is how lit up it gets. I don't know, whatever, right? But so that way you can pack 3 different pieces of information in a single image. And that image looks like garbage to anybody who doesn't know what they're looking at. So, but as he points out, like you're packing in a bunch of data into one little thing, which is very convenient when it comes to efficient asset loading. But when it comes to increasing the amount of things that you can have in your map, in other words, the amount of extra details that you need to keep track of, not just like details in the form of like sticks or like doodads or whatever, but I mean like dust, rust, reflections, like defining properties about the material itself. Subsurface scattering, you know, for example.
And this gives us some noticeable quality improvements for sure. And it also means that we can go in and remove individual textures.
Yeah, A is the 4th
that
channel,
makes more
which is the
sense
alpha.
now. So, so that's actually also what we did this year. No more static occlusion maps. Now this is something that we've wanted to do for a long time. And with the modular hangers that we've been rolling out and releasing, this has really become evident. So SSAO, that we need some dynamic, you know, ambient occlusion.
What does that mean? So why do you need to cheat in graphics? Because processing lighting and graphics is the most expensive piece of all of your processing. So the more you can cheat, the more intense graphics you can get away with. Okay, ambient inclusion. Let's talk about ambient inclusion. This is a broken, VR stick, right? Now, where pieces come together, right, where they touch, even if they come to a corner, there's like this little dark area where things touch, and that's called ambient occlusion, right? It's kind of the little cracks where light doesn't go, where things touch. And so again, in order to cheat, you can either process ambient occlusion live, or you can cheat and figure out where the ambient occlusion would be on a ship, and then do what's called baking it, where you take what the ambient occlusion would be, and then you turn it into an image, which then gets used as a map, like an ambient occlusion map, right? So then what they're saying here is that they used to do that, but now they got away with it because now there's enough dynamically moving things that now ambient occlusion needs to be processed live as things shift around. So that's all they're saying.
And you got this with SSAO, and finally killed off the static occlusion maps. And also for like our more modular approach of assembling scenes and environments, this is super important.
So yeah, like you can see, the only lighting here is ambient occlusion.
And here's a few examples. This is from the Abyss here. You see on the...
What? No, so a better algorithm would be cheating. Like, optimization means finding cheats that get away with it. Like, that's... When people say optimization, when it comes to lighting and graphics and all that stuff, it means figuring out ways of hacking through stuff. Like, the problem is that it's not even the fact that there's things that can't be optimized enough. If we can optimize more, then we can calculate more, right? Well, everything's an approximation. You cannot calculate every single light ray that exists. Like, ray tracing is still an approximation. It's just the most powerful approximation that we can do right now, more or less. And even then, so like a good example is actually, a good example of cheating is the normal map, right? I was talking about. So let's see, going back a little bit. So this purple one down here, right? It's called a normal map. What a normal map does is it defines how light that's hitting at a perpendicular angle will bounce off of it, right? So, so the way a normal map works is like, you know, light comes in and it's a flat surface, right? But let's say I want to put texture, like little bumps on it. So then I can have little bumps on the normal map, and then it knows that, like, hey, when light hits it, it should actually reflect like off in a different direction than it would normally. So the normal map defines, like, if a light comes directly in, which direction does it bounce to? Hey, thanks, Sheesh. And it's based on like red, purple. That's why it looks purple, because purple is kind of straight up, and all of the other colors are kind of defining what it is. So when you map it onto something, it provides the illusion of 3D texture on something that doesn't necessarily have 3D texture. So it's one of the reasons why we're able to get those fine details that look like when you're running across the ground in Starfield and you look at the ground and it looks like there's rocks on the ground. Those rocks are not individually rendered. They're not processed. Those are actually just like cheated in via these kinds of maps. I agree that things can be made more efficient. And of course, being able to process things on the GPU really helps. But at a certain point, everything goes to its limitations and then cheats to make it look a little bit better, right? Like, that's just how things work. Oh.
Assembly big rocks here, they don't actually have ambient occlusion maps, but with the ambient occlusion comes in. Probably more evident here. You see this triclavian extraction node here on the rock. So this really, it's subtle, but it really adds and ties the scene together much more nicely. But our amazing friends in Team Engine were not...
I look forward to your GDC talk, JSE.
...done here, because we also went ahead and updated the in-game shadows. What we had before was basically one shadow map per object, with the limitation of 16 objects, so 16 shadow maps. And that's a problem. 16 shadowcasters in modular asset scenes and will lead to like shadows popping in and out. So let's not do that anymore. What we are going to do instead is we are going to partition the camera frustrum into multiple frustra. I asked our tech people for that sentence. I don't know what that means. And then we render a shadow map for each subfrustrum.
I did see a lot of questions about this, so I'll just take a pause because I don't know if they'll go into this during any of these presentations. Hey, thanks for that. So Carbon is just the name of their IO processes, right? Like Pulsar is their new like main IOs thing, but like Carbon has always been the name of like their proprietary engine. Like Carbon REST was their old API system, and Carbon was supposed to be like a huge deal when they were doing Dust 514, but they converted things over to doing Carbon, and apparently they built off of it. They're just reselling it, if that makes sense. But Carbon is effectively just their back-end services, like powered by now what they call Pulsar. Oh yeah, I do. So I do dev stuff too. That's what I'm saying. Like, no, it's getting wild for sure.
So that allows us to render an unlimited amount of shadows now. So that is awesome. But
that's why they're able to move.
It's still not.
That's why they're being able to move from these cheaty methods to being way more powerful methods, is because of more advanced development, especially since like the conversion over to DirectX 12 and other stuff that we've gotten away with. Like these are the kinds of victories that we get because of that.
Super nicely defined. So we also looked a bit on the quality of the shadows, and yeah, they got a lot better as well. Super nice. So with unlimited crisp and sharp shadows coupled with the SSAO, this is extremely important for us moving forward with complex modular environments and scene creation. Here you see the shadows.
We'll answer a lot of those questions at the other presentation.
Oh my god.
Nice. Very nice. And now also they render on all settings, the shadows, apart from disabled, of course, but like with the filtering of shadows being adjusted to allow a balance between quality and performance. We also talked a little bit last year about the extension system that we have been developing, now known as the layout system. Bringing with it hull extensions that can inherit object data, like that is the faction colors, the logos, lights and stuff on all the structures. So they can inherit that, or reversely, they can introduce new factions and put other factions within the same asset. So that's a single asset with many faction settings. That's new. And that gives us many cool options. Also in this is instancing, where we optimize performance while introducing large amounts of geometry using the layout system. And finally, within this context, we also talked a bit about ship extensions. For this purpose, we illustrated like adding plating and wings and other exterior things to ships, like either simply to create like hull variations, or maybe even to represent like fitted modules and stuff like that. So that's a cool idea, and we went ahead and used
just woken up from a nightmare or something.
You said this year's number of ships. Do you wanna go over that? There you go.
So this is the system that they've used to help build like the new destroyers and dreadnoughts. See?
So for these new destroyers, we did an update to the base TAC 1 hulls to create their new Navy variations. And on top of that...
Before we get any deeper, because she decided to wake up and bother me during my stream, she hates this. But she was like 9 pounds when I got her. But man, we have taken good care of this little fat cat. Man, she hates this. She hates this so bad. Okay. All right.
That we updated the textures and we put the layout system to use. Those new destroyers are a good example of us starting to use this new way of modifying our ships. So here you can see the pieces that make up the modification to the thresher.
Allara used blasters. What? Oh, the guineas are fine.
So textures being updated, parts added to change the silhouette, and then topping it with a camo pattern. The same approach we did with the catalyst.
Nice, nice.
Same with the Corsair, textures, parts, and for the first time, a Mar Navy camo pattern.
Yeah, the camo pattern's actually really cool.
So the thought behind these visuals is to make the ships feel more fitting for its role.
They always do a great job with graphics, man.
And
Let's
the
get
last
used to
but not
that.
least, the Cormorant. So obviously, this is a fairly recent hull, and the base didn't need much updating. But
Cormorant Navy is such a brutal-looking hull.
a little bit meaner. So more plates, a little bit more beefy. We also did the Navy dreadnoughts. So here you see the Naglfar, the Revelation with hull changes and a new camo. The Moros, yes, getting
Moros
much
Navy,
tougher.
baby.
And the Phoenix. We had wanted to give the Phoenix an overhaul for some time, so we used the opportunity and updated it completely.
They're so geeky about
So
this shit.
this
I
collection of
guarantee you.
ships
I guarantee you, if you took the artist that did that and you asked like a single bit or bob, and you're like, "What does that do?" They will know in their head. They'll have an idea of like what that bit or bob is in the ship.
gives you an idea of where we're heading with modifications to our ships and Tech 2 variants in the future. Since last FanFest, we introduced the new Apple hangars, and with those came the new Capital hangar, a good home for these new dreadnoughts.
Yeah, I think we need to restart the presentation.
I think so. Can we do a quick restart?
What? Are they videos? Oh, things weren't working right, I guess. Oh, yeah.
So all of the upper structures received new hangars, each stylized and themed for their respective function and mood. That includes different visuals and audio environments for each distinct structure type that help reflect the state and life of the structure in space. This hangar project
It's really cool to have the
was
claxons
very
going
large on our end. A lot of new features and performance achievements came with it that benefit us into future projects.
Project Z, I like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Difference of the state. Fuel up.
Turned on when we restart.
So audio indicators, visual indicators for the structure states.
The space camo is
And
more
if you've
like
seen
tradition, I
these,
think.
You should maybe start looking for another real estate. So when we were looking at this hangar project, we very much kept the Empire hangars in mind. We designed and concepted some ideas for each Empire. Some of those goals for us would be to achieve a visual progression for the player, difference between regions, and security status and customization.
Pretty good.
So one of the key unlocks
better.
for us in producing these,
It's just the start.
having a small art team, is being able to build assets faster, making prototypes and not over-designing before trying things out. So here's a prototype of a Kaldari hangar using the methods we learned from the Apple Hangar project.
Well, no. They were talking about the structure being in hull, Sidewinder. They were showing there's things blowing up or like sparks flying out in the structure when the structure's in hull. Upwell, not Apple. Oh, that's cool. Is this the NPC structure station? Is that supposed to be NPC? Hold on. Is that what that was?
From the Apple Hangar. So here's a prototype of a Kaldari hangar using the methods we learned from the Apple Hangar project.
So yeah, so this is a Kaldari hangar. That's really cool. Nothing like fires in the superstructure to let you know that things are going poorly.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
So like you've seen with the ships and with the hangars, this is a holistic approach in
I
improving
too
our
wonder what the
pipeline
fulcrum
and creating
material
new
is going to look
assets.
like.
And it also applies to structures. So how we're building libraries for modular use. For instance, we can go back to the JITA station, the new JITA station, which was very much built in a modular approach. So if we want to try and build a modular library for a structure library for Kaldari, we could go back here and identify, again, modular pieces that we can then harvest here, throw out, and then we can consolidate all the pieces into, into actual small pieces, finding building blocks, and create a set that we can use here, connection pieces, and platforms, small structures, big structures. You can then combine these again and use them to build infrastructure around gates, around stations, and also the fleet harbors that was introduced as part of the factional warfare content.
Those sites all look really good.
And this method gives us, ways to build quickly and by using ready use assets that fits together. And so here we're using the Minmatar.
FanFest was incredible this year.
Quickly built a Minmatar scene. This is for this is a war zone plex for the Minmatar war zone and the factional warfare.
Correct, Brave. Yeah. You can have all of the things kind of loaded, and then it just knows to load in those blocks.
Again, using a Gallente modular sets, a Mar.
The first play test of Vanguard will be in December.
So it's super nice to have these sets, like a lot of new assets available all of a sudden. And also for the factional warfare content, we use these to create the battlefields. And this modular approach is really key for us. Like with a relatively small art team, this makes us able to build varied and complex environments. In a reasonable time and iterative pace. And it's not just environments like these that where we can use these modular sets and where they're helpful. Also, more complex and unique assets from the factional warfare campaign is an example. We can show the stellar transmuters. Also here, modular sets came in extremely handy as we could construct these, with a combination of tailor-made geometry and the modularity on top. Those are cool. And in much the same way, we'd also construct the shipcasters. which is also a mix of custom geometry and the Empire modular pieces on top. So this way we've added quite a bit to our environments the last years.
I'm glad you're happy, Lorelei.
You know, new asteroids, expanding our asset and structure library, modular sets, better and more varied post-process templates and environment effects. So what's next? What's the next step? And like to really up our game and to take us into the third decade, we want.
Before we go into this, I will point out that the things that that we are now getting this year and last year were the things that they showed off during this section of the presentation in 2019. So like, dial in expectations. Warping to anything in Zarzakh is like warping to a DD site, or depending on the distance, you risk ending up outside of the safe zone. You can, if you warp to any of the stargates at 100, you will die. The safe zone is about 80 kilometers from the stargates. I don't know what is and isn't a safe warp zone from the Fulcrum. The construction yard is fairly large.
Wanted to take on something that's been high on our list for quite some time. That is volumetric clouds. So now we have clouds in EVE, many clouds, but historically they all been representing clouds. We've been representing the clouds and smoke as static images and particle systems.
Well, we were at 0 from the Fulcrum, and there was at like the Fulcrum warp-in, and the Arazu that got just outside of 100 kilometers exploded. So it's not that much further than that, especially up. Now the Fulcrum's really tall, and the warp-in is at the top. So I think like if you like from the top, it's only 100 kilometers, but then down, it's 100 kilometers from all of the points of the Fulcrum, if that makes sense.
The most obvious example being our nebulas. Those represent clouds, but they're static and 2D as it gets. But obviously we have clouds and smoke that are more dynamic and voluminous, such as scene clouds, fire, smoke, and many other effects. But basically they're just 2D images. You know, obviously not always static, but using texture atlases and color ramps and particle systems, camera-facing particles, and various shader tech. You can manipulate the 2D images and mask them together, and you can create something to mimic cloud and smoke. Like here on one of our Minmatar stations. So that's basically what it is. There are the images facing the camera, and within that, some shader tech happening. And you know, that's about how they work, and it's definitely not all bad. They are relatively easy to author and implement, and they definitely look good for specific purposes. But it's not an actual volume. It's just a lot of 2D planes, and that illusion can easily break depending on the use case. And also with particle systems like this, if you really want to create like dense effects, like if you wanted to try and hide the station here behind the clouds, you will often end up using a lot of particles, and that creates overdraw, and that creates poor performance. And also, it doesn't always quite work anyways. The illusion will break when you get up close and interact with the clouds.
Yeah.
Like if you try and fly through the clouds, there's a perceived density will shift every time you break through one of those 2D images.
So yeah, so the key here is that this is another one of those examples of the cheat, right? What he's actually showing when he showed all those boxes are, this is what's really there. Each one of those boxes represents an image, but that image has like a little puff of smoke that is, has a strong alpha component, right? And then also the entire puff of smoke is being controlled programmatically at run, you know, each, they'll probably fade out over time. Like you can do little like, you know, opacity over time, color over time, size over time. So it takes these little images of smoke and it like blows them up and then fades them out. And that's how you see smoke. But really it's just a ton of billboard images. And this is how literally like every particle in almost every video game is done. So, but the problem is that that's not actually volumetric. That's basically what he's saying.
There's a perceived density will shift every time you break through one of those 2D images. So to continue to strive for striking and immersive environments, we wanted to try and create an actual dense volumetric cloud, and not for the first time either. We actually used volumetric clouds in an early version of them in the Abyss. This earlier version did not have the definition, and resolution, and just general quality that we would want for up-close gameplay. They didn't support dynamic lighting and shadows. And these clouds are generally just used around the dungeons, so outside of the actual play space. So that's good for this purpose, and like the Abyss play space lent itself nicely to that, because you're locked in a bubble. But now we want to fly through them. We want to hide structures inside them. You know, we want them to receive shadows and receive light and add to the scene reflections. So to create the actual 3D volumetric data, we turn to Empergen, a real-time fluid simulation software that lends itself nicely to this purpose. Here we can author the volumetric clouds in voxel.
So over here on the side, this little web of boxes, this is the definitions. These are like math nodes and other nodes that are defining how the simulation works.
Using like emitters, forces, and collision volumes. And then render out the temperature and density. And then within our own pipeline, we can then convert this information into 2 3D textures. And now import that and start optimizing and authoring in the cloud, because it's not cheap volumetric data. But for example, amongst many optimizations for performance, you can cut down on the iterations, which in turn then creates this undersampling and aliasing effect you see here. So to counteract this, we introduce noise. And then you can blur the noise to further smooth out your cloud. And effectively, in the end, cutting down the iterations up to 10 times. And now we can also, in our own pipeline, author things like cloud color, both with a color ramp and with an overall flat color. And we can add lighting to the cloud. So both to light up the cloud itself, but also for the light to light up its surroundings. We can also author the cloud's effects on the scene reflections. So on the right here, you can see the scene reflection map as the reflection probe generates it in real time, and you can see the proxy reflection of the cloud being rendered into that.
So as I was saying earlier, there's a reflection probe, and so what we're seeing on the left-hand side, it's a box, because if you think about it, you can fold the box in it to make a cube, and you're on the inside. Right? And then that functions as the reflection map. That's like whatever data happens to be there will count all of that as their reflection data. So that way each object doesn't need to calculate its own reflection data. It's just querying the local reflection map.
So with this and a bunch of other tweaks, authoring options, and performance optimizations, we end up with our finished volumetric clouds in client.
Looks really good.
Super nice, super nice.
So that's an example of cheating, though, in the same sense. And this is why, like, a lot of people are saying, my poor client, but that's actually, this is what he's saying. They do all of the processing ahead of time. They do all of this dense simulation, all that stuff. So by the time your computer's rendering it, you're actually rendering a highly optimized version of it, and it blurs and stuff like that. Like, actually, if you look, I don't know if I can see it here. I noticed it when I was at the Fulcrum. It might be hard to see, but if I zoom in, like, even if I'm like within the boundary, you can see like there's like a blur effect within the clouds, and that's what's helping it kind of look like there's a lot of cheats going on to make everything look right without actually taking too much extra processing. You can also see like the way that the structure that's inside of the bubble, or like the way it interacts with different things and it occludes things. There's lots of little tiny cheats that are working on that are making it work right. You can really see it in the sun, in the, you know, through the skybox. There's like a fuzziness. Let's see what it looks like in potato mode. So this is it in potato mode. You can now you can really see the blur effect on everything. But I mean, we lost the sun almost completely into the glow. Now we're back. Control. That's true. You can do Control Shift F9. There you go. There's your potato mode. No, the standings are going to change. The standings requirements are going to change when it's time.
And we ended up authoring somewhere around 44 of these new volumetric clouds to initially use in the Homefront environments.
Yes, in December.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that. Came out.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to dock in there before December, but who knows what the live event's going to bring as far as our availability to interact with Zarzakh.
Amazing. And here's one of the Amar dungeons, and you can see how you can actually just block out other stuff like this asteroid gets hidden in the cloud density. The overall density.
I really wish that the volumetric clouds responded to things. Like our guns firing or ships exploding should send out pressure waves that you could like see vibrate through the volumetric clouds, but you know, whatever. If you grind standings with these people, your empire standings will die, right? I have no idea. There's no way of being at peace with both like an Ian Common Triggs. We don't know. But given CCP's tendencies and what they've said is their priorities, chances are if you decide to unenlist with the Angels or the Guristas, you will go back to relative normalcy. Did they say docking in I don't want to pretend like I know what's about to happen in Zarzakh. I just know it's going to be interesting, and we'll be keeping an eye on it and figuring it out as much as we possibly can. Yes, I know that people from FanFest have to get home, and that's the reason why they delayed it. But like I said, I don't know what the event that's coming is going to entail, and I don't like. I'm trying to be very careful to not like make people think that I know something that I don't.
Density is, by the way, something we can easily adjust in our own pipeline after the cloud has been authored in Embergen. And it's also a bit of work on our engine people to make sure that the clouds play nicely with everything from explosion effects and glass surfaces.
I think I remember that, Brave.
And much more.
But that was like a high end.
In
like,
the end, we were really happy with what
one.
we ended up with. These loop clouds work really well to bind together our dungeons and environments and assets and creating a super immersive environment we always strive for. So, yeah, this is a good way to enter the third decade of EVE. And we put together a short video here just to let's have a better look at these environments. So let's check that out.
Actually, that's a really good example. Hold on, right at the very beginning.
Check that out.
See that right there? See that? See how it looks like? It looks textured, but it looks really like sharp. That texture is almost certainly caused by either a normal map, a deformation map, or both, right? This is basically a flat plane or a series of large triangles with a texture on it. That's what we mean by cheating. They know that most players are running the game on potatoes. I don't, most is a strong word. But they do know they have to take it into consideration. Homefront sites are very pretty. they're showing right now already exists. These are home fronts. This game does not have very high demands, even for high graphics. I mean, my computer's pretty good, but I can literally multi-box at full graphics.
So go blow some
Hit
stuff
that
up
like
inside
for
the metric
the
clouds.
guinea pigs.
Ooh, nice.
So clouds. With further
Yes.
use of our volumetric cloud tech, we wanted to try and create a new environment centered around clouds. Key points for this new environment were bright, cloudy backdrops with a feeling of danger, with contrasting, ominous Jovian structures. Kind of the opposite of our current abyssal space. We went into our archives and dug up some environment explorations from the past. Some of those were based around exploration into old Jove territory. We had discussions on re-envisioning Jove, went through old concepts and new, and figured out how we would make it fit into our visual goals of creating this bright, hazardous environment. Because when you're dealing with Jove, it's easy to slip into dark and moody visuals. So a bright, disastrous environment nebula was created that pushed us back onto target, getting us closer to the feeling of being in a disastrous sandstorm. Here you can see the new nebula.
Sounds like a you problem,
of
Luan.
Zarzakh. The
Nice.
scenery needed new assets. We wanted to place ourselves in a certain age of Jove. That age has its visuals based on oily, sleek metal and primitive shapes, like the current dormant Jove Observatory. We wanted players to discover this new region of Zarzakh through a puzzle of finding new gates, which would lead them closer to Jove. Here's an early exploration for those gates with a very organic and aggressive look. Another one, more simplified and structural, feeling more organized. And the final one, a blend of organized bent oily metal on top of a very organic interior, hinting at a more sophisticated Jove age with its shit figured out, at least on the outside. A lot of detail got crammed into this asset using our extension system, letting us go a lot further in detail than previously possible with our old assets.
Yeah, those gates, man. Oh,
To emphasize the organic element and scientific feeling of Jove, we created visual effects that display more tangled mathematical forms.
I spent most
So
of last
the
night
first
just staring at the
asset into this
Jove gate.
new region, the gate, a visual target for Jove space assets.
Hey, thanks, Shodanar. Sweet.
In this new space, we needed a central location for previous Jove habitants. Here are early explorations of such a structure following the same ideas as with the gate.
I kind of like the wide
Another
mode in the
idea for
tall.
the structure. And the final one, An inactive Jove puzzle piece, one of the largest known structures in the game.
It does, doesn't it, Mike? It does have like
Same
an
as with the
arcane
gate, we went way
Full
up in
Metal
polygon
Alchemist
count
look to it.
and detail for the model and its extensions.
Welcome back, Craig. I have a video just for people like you. Might need to remake it now. I'm interested in fulcrum theories. Yeah, it looks like a flower, right? No problem. Well, I think it's the fulcrum because it's connected,
So,
because of the
where
way it's
are the
connected in
Jove?
space.
There are no signs of them in this new space other than their barely working and abundant structures that seem to have been kick-started by a newly surfaced faction called the Deathless. The Deathless is a new faction for us. They're a hybrid faction mixed together with the Kaldari and Minmatar empires. Their look is
I think, no, Esri Hakazosu is a legitimate Guristas leader.
based on mixing the best functional parts of these two empires and fusing them together with their signature exoskeleton technology and a lot of tubing.
New Deathless ships.
So they attach
Oh, boy.
components together to get the best out of both. With this new faction, like we did with the Troglavians in early days, we were imagining how the Deathless might look and feel if they would do a takeover. Because they are not only bound to Kaldari and Minmatar hardware. Here are some work-in-progress ideas that show modifications to the Apple ship platforms.
I like it. Could the fulcrum be leveraging the black hole in some way? Of course it could be.
small
It's also an
ship
AO blue
platform
star.
Modified by the Deathless.
Probably.
And here you can see it hooked into Deathless technology. In the same way, changes made to the medium ship platform.
I noted, hold on.
And held in the,
Did he, what, I don't know what he said, but
and here modified by the Deathless. And here you can see it hooked into Deathless technology. Small. So a modified small ship platform modified by the Deathless.
okay.
And here you can see it hooked into
That looks very
Deathless
Triglavian,
technology.
is all I'm saying.
And held in place by the Deathless signature exoskeleton tech. This is a bit of a sneak peek.
It's funny because like the Deathless and the autophage that are emerging in No Man's Sky have a lot in common. Just a lot in common.
For what Deathless could become. As Deathless move on with their exploration of Jove, they realize that more hands are needed on deck. So they send out
Nothing
an
brave.
invite to a proper pirate party. An invite is sent out to the Guristas and the Angel Cartel. To bring the Angel Cartel up to par with the Guristas, we revisited the Angel Cartel design language. Here are some of those ideas. This is a new Angel Cartel destroyer design, sleek and aggressive with its iconic cockpit area, and plenty of turret hardpoints. Here is the Angel Cartel battlecruiser design, same sleekness and aggressive pointy bits, equipped with a similar cockpit design.
Looks so good. I'm going to be flying the hell out of those things. Actually, Estri and Zohar could have been in either of them, really. Both ships have like a cockpit thing that looks like it could be there. Yes, the Kitsriel is literally... Well, it's really funny because, like, so when CCP released the Angels sketches, everybody really liked them. And I remember in 2019 when we were talking to them about it, you know, they even said that, like, well, the good news is that we were able to reclaim some of the cool things from those designs by adding them into the Triglavians. So the Triglavians were really, like, a lot of their design flourishes were based off of the Angel designs that they never actually ended up using. But now they're going back and making those Angel designs. So those Angel designs look a lot like, you know, normal, or like, look like Triglavians.
And of course, the one we couldn't let wait any longer. We took a look at all designs we had for this one, then the previously.
So if you look in the previous version, they have the sweeping back hook, which is what gives it it looks like an Angel Cartel logo. Now it doesn't look quite as much like an Angel Cartel logo, but who knows? Maybe it'll fold open when it warps.
Revealed concepts. So in the left corner with some iterations on it, like you can see from left to right. We try to get it into the new visuals of where we wanted the Angel Cartel to be, giving it the same sleekness.
We need it spiky. Spikier.
Aggression and pointy bits. We gave it the 4 states of its being. Gave it wings and thorns.
Damn.
And its final beast-like form, the Angel Cartel Titan.
Yeah, it does look like a... Is it Zerg or is it Protoss?
Row.
It has the big hook. I guess that is a Zerg ship, isn't it?
So, that's for us for now. Come and chat with us in the art corner, where
Okay.
we'd like to get your feedback.
And now we jump into
Say
the
hi.
actual presentation.
A fortress yet Zarzakh
We'll watch it again.
has been waiting. An ancient nexus, long abandoned. Now ruled by the insurgents. The fearless. The deathless. Trust is rare among our kind. Yet here you are, compelled by my invitation. I offer you a haven, a fortress, hidden from the Empire.
Jovians are dead, man. They ain't gonna do shit about this.
I have given it life. It feeds on me. And in return, it yields knowledge,
Remember, this message is to the pirates, not to us,
power.
when he says the next few messages.
Prepare your forces for chaos on the front lines. Harness the
they're not.
might of Capsuleers with the
That's
promise
us.
of riches. And together, we will unlock Zarzakh's secrets. One by
Well, SOCT has been trying to stop this for a while now.
one.
Hello, Capsuleers, and welcome. The Havoc expansion is coming to EVE Online on the 14th of November. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. It's going to be amazing. We have a lot of amazing devs here who are going to be going into all the juicy details and stats for the expansion. And are you ready? Are you ready? They'll also be sharing with you some of the foundations that have been laid to get us to this moment, as well as what the future looks like beyond Havoc. So you're going to want to stick around for this one. An important part of engaging in corruption or suppression and preparing for the future of war is building up and strengthening your organizations through valuable connections that you make with other Capsuleers. To share more on this, I'd like to welcome to the stage CCP Ghost.
So CCP Ghost, this dude, okay, I feel like I need to introduce this guy every single time he shows up. CCP Ghost is terrifying. This guy was hired by CCP after he was an interrogator during the 2008 banking crisis. And he is personally responsible for being one of the reasons why the Icelandic bankers didn't get away with the shit like they did in all the rest of the world. So after doing that and like taking apart that whole thing, he then gets approached by Hilmar and said, hey, how would you like the most interesting data set in the history of mankind? And CCP Ghost proceeded to show up and try to figure out what makes us all like each other. He's a very interesting character. His brain is weird. He gives really good presentations. He's a very scary man to be in a room with, trust me. But he's friendly as hell.
Thank you. Hello, FanFest.
Yeah.
So over the last 20 years, there has been countless amounts of people, myself included, that wanted to get to the bottom of the EVE magic. What is it about our game that causes countless stories to happen about spying, betrayal, vast destruction, and incredible data points, such as the fact that 73% of us claim to have made a friend as a result of playing EVE Online? And why do we have almost 80,000 active players for more than a decade in our game?
Wow.
And believe me,
I think the point of that stat was not that there's 80,000 players, but that there's 80,000 players with more than a decade in the game.
This has been studied widely. We've had university courses taught on EVE. We've had some of the top tier universities in the world wanting to get to study our data set. And we've even had people having their doctorate studies on this thing. And one thing keeps coming up. Do you want to guess it? Friendship, absolutely. But I told you that a couple of years ago. What is behind the friendship? Killing. You're the only audience that would say that. It's organizations. The answer is organizations. It's you people. The corps and the groups you organize. The chat groups, the alliances. And there is something seemingly, if I may say, magical that happens here. And CCP has now been studying this phenomenon for years. And through countless interviews with you, the players, surveys, data gathering, many meetings with the CSM and more, we believe we have found a few crucial elements pertaining.
Yeah, we're scary, but you know what? That's what makes the friendships rewarding, right? Like the increased pressure, the intensity of it, and the value of that friendship, that's what makes it into an actual friendship instead of we're just all here to get our DKP and win a raid and I don't really care.
Pertaining to the health of a good organization and, subsequently, the heart of the friendship machine. For example, here you can see the player-organized effort of the liftoff of CCP Burger. And another example we discovered is that the most efficient organizations in onboarding new players into our game in a positive manner deploy similar tactics when it comes to stuff like creating newbie fleets, with something we have dubbed the super fleet formula. Would you like to see it?
You can lend
All
me
right,
an
let's run
AT ship.
through
I'll
it,
keep it safe, I
because
promise.
we love some formulas. So the super fleet formula goes a little bit like this. First, a recruiter finds new recruits.
Unfortunate name.
And then
Good
that
concept.
recruiter or an FC gives everyone the same ship. Following that, the recruiter or the FC gives each new recruit a role that they can understand. And then specific behavioral instructions are given, such as find this target, shoot it, then shoot targets of that type that approach. Newly formed group is then taken into combat with the specific intention that they will all die together. So killing. And
I always
after this
fuck up that
happens, the
fifth
recruiter or the
segment. We
FC
get kills
explains that
instead.
this was okay. This was a bonding exercise. And the recruiter then replaces all the lost materials. And then finally, this is repeated and scaled up with increased adversity and complexity. And this setup seems to be one of the crucial ingredients in the fact that 14% of all brand new players that have played EVE less than 10 hours claim to have made a friend as a result of playing the game.
So if you look at this, we can definitely see the formula that they used to make home fronts, right? Because that idea of like the one person who just has 5 ships ready to go and then just hands them out and they go and do it. Like this is something that becomes very, very easy to do within home fronts, and like you just fall into it naturally.
We also found that good groups spend considerable resources in making sure players always have something to do in our game. That there are activity and interest-based groups to congregate in, to find camaraderie, a purpose to align behind, situations where trust building can thrive and connections be made. And massive resources are devoted to making sure players have regular access to fleet play and opportunities to have cooperative kills together, mentors available, reasons for direct trading, and a plethora of scheduling activities together.
I don't think a lot of people appreciate exactly how much work goes into making sure that newbies can have answers, and because like nobody knows where to look for answers. So you've got to like constantly hunt down people and find new ways of communicating to people, because like you got to get people involved in spite of themselves sometimes. And it's such an incredible, even just having mentors that are actually there. Everybody says that they want to be a mentor, but the work of actually linking people together and making things actually happen is so understated, in my opinion.
And the deeper we went, the more we've come to realize that we want to prioritize healthy group formation in our game. Not only the initial connections and the onboarding phase, but also the maturing of a group and the deepening of friendships. And so, one of our focus for the next few years at CCP will be the following mission statement. We aim to create or foster scenarios where existing players can meaningfully connect, play, and progress with each other and new players in an environment of purposeful friendship. Because as we can proudly state, you are somebody other people want to play with in New Eden. And that is a fact. When you come into New Eden as a new person not knowing anybody, there are literally thousands of people and hundreds of groups waiting for you and wanting to onboard you into their adventures together. And that is an amazing thing to be able to say.
Everybody wants you, so that way they can train you their way,
and
brainwash
so,
you, get you involved.
We introduced corp projects, we introduced home front operations, and
that's actually a good example. Mike Azariah, like we talk about, oh my gosh, he spends every day going around with the bus, but think about it, like managing all those assets, making sure that they're all in the correct positions, having redundancies, answering people's questions, right? Like there are people that put in hundreds of hours of work into making New Eden the way it is for all of us. And the only thing that we can do is pay it forward, make EVE better for everyone.
Introduced air opportunities. Core projects with the aim of giving you the tools to better organize meaningful activity and clearer contributions to your group. Homefront operations to provide a venue to practice small fleet play with different roles through fun adventures that can be lucrative. and Air Opportunities with a long-term plan of Air Opportunities being your one-stop shop to find everything you can to do right now.
Well, the thing is that most players can choose not to go and get help from the bus, but there's a lot of people that are just like lost in the sauce by the time Mike runs into them. And so just having that little bit of a connection and a fit ship will go a long ways for a lot of people. And that's been like basically proven over years, thanks to Mike.
And with relevance to who you are. And introducing something like core projects into EVE is a complex undertaking, to say the least. There are so many potential paths to go. So we decided to release a simple version of what we were envisioning for the core projects in the first go, and to see how you, the players, would use it and what you would mainly request as additional features. So in the first version, we had 5 contribution methods: to deliver an item, to damage Capsuleer, to mine, unclassified, meaning you describe the parameters, and to kill an NPC. And packaged with this, we have manual payout system, and then we introduced a dynamic
No, but the people that don't want help
called the Air Opportunities.
They're getting
to
their
find
like
stuff to do
that's
now
a different
and
user
according to your
story.
interest and
They have a
relevance,
different path. We got to make sure that they have a path
find
too,
more
for
features
sure.
to engage with as well. And this is also where we decided to place the new Homefront Operations, which is a group of brand new missions designed with the intent of offering exciting adventures for cooperative fleet play. And we are happy to see that these missions seem to be widely used by veteran players, taking a group of less experienced players out to teach them about roles in EVE and show them adventures. And since we all love the data, here is some insights for you. The most popular dungeon out of the Homefront Operations has been entered 26,603 times.
When he says most popular, just read Dread Sight.
Of all the players using it are less than 3 months old, so new players. And the average completion time is 12 minutes, with the average reward per completing character being 26 million ISK. And the most active dungeon has given out a total of 2.5 trillion ISK in rewards. So with our goals set, we wanted to be in a strong...
The thing is that this isn't even a matter of whether or not new players want help. It's that players want to work together because you kind of need to at a certain point. A lot of players do. And so new players, old players, whatever, the reason why we focus on that is because new players don't even know how to articulate their own answers.
Position to also be able to learn about healthy organizations and how you might develop using these new tools and these new features. And we thought that we should strengthen our ability to monitor these key elements mentioned previously, so valuable to group and friendship building in EVE, and see if these new systems and other additions to our game could help more healthy organizational and friendship.
If you are watching this and you haven't had a chance and you're looking for an adventure, I do have a video called How to Have an Adventure in EVE Online for Under 5 million ISK. Which has been very successful in getting people that are directly out of the NPE, the new player experience and career agents, out there having fun, getting adventures, making money. I constantly get people coming to me and telling me their stories, and I love them. Maybe I should highlight some of them. But yeah.
Friendship building take place. Our new connections being made, our older ones being deep.
Lazy One, I wanted to be pessimistic and think that too, but the ones that were multi-boxing were getting it done a lot faster than 12 minutes. So that average being high suggests that there are actually quite a bit of people doing it the old-fashioned way too.
Deepened our organizations thriving or not. And so alongside our project, we've developed something that we're calling the Friendship Index. And we are happy to report that after the first Homefront deployment in Viridian, we are seeing a healthy upward trend line in the Friendship Index. What this means for you data nerds out there is that we have a weighted index of 8 social factors in our game previously mentioned. And since Viridian, we've been seeing a healthy uptick in Corp member logins at the same time, and direct trade, contacts added with positive standing, co-op kills, and cash donations. What this means, in other words, is that you are playing more together. A lot of you are giving each other more presents, and your social circle is growing, which is fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. And this is just a little bit of a peek under the hood of some of the developmental monitoring we do and the health metrics we are now prioritizing to help us keep track in building stronger organizations with all of you. But the most important information for us always keeps being player feedback and reception to the things we put out there. And so, after Corp Goals and the Viridian launch, we've seen that this has been well received, and believe me, we have been monitoring your feedback constantly. CCP Nomad spent many a nights scouring the internet to try to find every piece of feedback that was out there. And a couple of days later, when we picked him up from the mental hospital, he told us all about it. But all joking aside, the feedback has been great, and we implemented it straight into our product vision, actually, and the prioritization for the next launch, which is happening in November. And to tell you more about what exactly that is, here he is, in the flesh, the creative lead for the Homefront initiative, CCP Nomad. Thank you.
Hello, FunFest! So, as CCP Ghost has said, we checked all your feedback, and that is how we prioritize the features for November. I'll start with the most requested one, payments integration to project. So this will help provide you, the creators of those projects, with the ability to assign payments to
one thing about Old Man.
Reward your members for contributing to the projects automatically. The projects are now set and forget from the point of view of the creator. The design we are implementing is based on an escrow system. So essentially, the moment you create a project and associate a payment with the contribution, then the total sum is taken out of the corporation account that you have set as active, that you have the access to. And then the escrow distributes the rewards to the contributors, proportional to the contributions they have made. For example, your corp needs 5 ravens. So you have the project manager role, you create a project, and
pink-haired girl.
you use the deliver item contribution method for that project. And since you have additional role giving you access to one of the corp wallets, you can associate a payout with that project. You set it at 250 million per contribution, which means per 1 raven delivered to the project's hangar. And the whole project cost the corporation 1.25 billion ISK. And that is the amount taken from the corp wallet on project creation. And you're done. You don't have to follow up with any payments. The project ran itself. So now if you are a member or a potential contributor to the project, you want to contribute to it, you have 2 spare raven holes in your hangar for any reason. So you just drop them to the corporation project's hangar, and that gives you 500 million reward for you to claim. The contribution you have made is visible on the project, as well as the reward that you have earned. You claim the reward.
This is so huge.
And 500 million goes from the escrow to your personal wallet. The project stays active since there are still 3 ravens left to be delivered and paid for. And that's it. That's how the system works. Should be pretty simple. So it's worth to note that the total amount of ISK available for each project will be visible on the particular project itself.
That's a good question.
But also the total sum of money available on the table, let's say, will be visible in the corporation.
You might be able to
window.
contract
so your
out
members will be like, I can earn 5 billion ISK doing stuff for the corp. That's great. So this will be a signature of a healthy organization for all the members that are interested into this stuff. Like, they want to see how is my organization, how healthy it is. So this will be a good indicator.
I love the task. Kill this one dude.
The second upgrade we are doing, the project manager role.
The fact that there wasn't a program
manager
role was
asking
such a
for
mistake.
it because it's been only CEOs and directors that were able to create those projects so far, and he wanted to, to delegate it to other people without necessarily giving them
Wait, CCP behind the scenes refers to sites, any sort of site, like Dead Space site, as a dungeon. Like a site is a dungeon, a gate is a door, and an individual grid is a room. That's just the nomenclature that they use outside of the context of the game, like on the industry side.
Access to stuff they probably shouldn't have. So this should
Well,
be
this
good,
role
and
doesn't
that's
exist
how
yet
the
either.
project
So
delegation
maybe
looks like in your corps, we imagine.
maybe a new role will help out. But a director
They're
should
so
be able to do
happy.
it if it's doable.
And related to this is a quality of life feature, allowing you to clone project, essentially just copying the parameters of an existing project. Whether
This is great because this way we can set like our monthly goals and then just every month
so
just
less
refresh
clicking,
it.
less writing, less effort for all those new project managers. And finally, 7 new contribution methods, 7 new project types. So we released 5 in June. This gives you guys in total, 12 project types that you'll be able to create for your corporation. That means more play styles can be recognized by the corporation, and the contributors can be rewarded for it. So starting with my favorite, remote reps.
So this is actually why having this be a player group or a player-based thing is actually a good idea, right? So we can put like a billion-isk on Logi, and if someone scams us, that's up to us, right? Like the whole like, oh, well, you can just get credit for lodging for nothing or whatever. And it's like, well, we could make sure that that doesn't happen. That's the nice thing about just giving us the tools to do it instead of trying to automate it, if that makes sense.
So the remote repair armor and remote boost shields, those are 2 types of projects. And they will provide the logis with all the recognition within the corp.
So why is this actually big? Why is this actually big? So there are logi that are probably not going to like this. Let's take a step back and realize. So like when I first started playing EVE Online, there was this idea of like go back to WoW, right? If something was like WoW, it was by definition bad, okay? So things like damage meters were seen as bad. You know, I use Peld Hypha Eve live damage meters. And you can find that with exclamation point Peld in the chat. But there was no live damage meters. There was no live healing meters. And the thing is that Logi did not want to be on kill mails for their contribution. Partially, or at least some Logi didn't. Partially because if they were a spy and therefore not lodging, even though they pretended to be in order to weaken your group, it was very difficult to catch them. But even more so, just performance-wise, like the idea that we would like sift through the logs to see which ones are doing great or which ones aren't. Like this was something that people were actually negative against. So by making a role like this, we're actually going to not only be able to see how much we logi, but we're going to be able to see who logis more than other people, because you can see who contributes how much if you're a director. So that's going to be really interesting. It has some implications.
Maybe this is not logi on kill mails yet, as CCP Ratati said yesterday. We are getting there too, but this
I do agree with like
allows
get
the
rid of kill mail.
corporation to financially
What's up,
incentivize
Container?
the members to fly logi, because they will be not only recognized, their effort will not only be recognized in the corporation by making them visible as contributors to the projects, but also they can actually earn money for repping people. So the available options here that you can set up is you can select the location, solar system in particular, in which you want to consider the contributions as made to this project. Repaired ship type, if you want to incentivize or if you want to reward your members for repping some types of ships more than others, if it's needed. And then identity of the ship owner, which means we want to rep people from this alliance more than from that one.
So what you could do is theoretically like an FC, like, because remember, you can have multiple projects. So like an FC could have a general logi one, but then actually have one that specifically keeps track of like individual people. And once again, like it'll give people, it'll allow us to give credit where credit's due, as it were.
You have your own reasons, no judging.
I agree, Laura.
You can also put it as far down as designating specific character that you may want to rep. So maybe you are CEO and you want, you know, where this is going. If you are this type of person, do that.
Marcel definitely would have done
Capsuleer.
that.
That's another contribution method. So this is an addition to the deal damage to Capsuleer project type that we released in June. And we started with damage delivery to foster group play.
Hey, Bogdan, thank you for
but
that.
You've been asking for recognition for the actual kill maze. Those things.
It's bounty system, guys. It's the bounty system. 1 million for every kill of Diana Kim.
Matter to you. So here's a project type that will recognize the actual killer. Basically, who gets the kill mail is the one who is contributing to the project. So the options available here, they are similar.
Bring me your
as in
Diana
the
Kim
remote
kill
reps.
marks.
You can specify in which solar system
I know,
the killing should happen. What type of ship
Underestimate
should
how
be
often
killed
you
to
can
be
kill
considered
Diana
as a
Kim.
contribution. If you want to target specific types of ships, maybe the enemy logis, you want to, for example, pay more for damage dealt to logis than to other ships. And the identity of the ship owner again. Just make sure you set this up correctly, because you may incentivize your members to shoot each other. Which might be a good thing, I don't know. Scan signatures. So you are running a wormhole corp. Yes, yes, yes. Wormholer, by the way.
Correct. You could do like a corporation Hulkageddon and pay out a certain amount for every Hulk you kill.
Okay, so you're running a wormhole corp and you have a hard time making all your members.
You can even
to
say
keep
how
your
many for every
home scanned
pandemic
at all
horde
times.
Hulk you kill.
So maybe this will help. Or maybe you are the person that actually relentlessly is scanning all the signatures all the time, every day. Maybe finally the corp will start paying you for it. So the options here allow you to set up the solar system where the signature is and the signature type. So you can reward the people. You can reward the members more for scanning signatures in your home system versus another systems, or for scanning.
There should be types of space
rather than any type of signatures.
like any wormhole, any signatures in wormholes.
Capture and defend factional warfare complex.
Yes.
So as you may have noticed, we have been strengthening the factional warfare.
You know what you could actually do with this? So check this out. What we're going to do, this is not actually going to happen. I'm not going to, but in this hypothetical world, right, with, let's call it Cateron, my Caldari Aeron, right? My Cateron corporation, we're going to set taxes to 100%, LP taxes to 100%, but we're going to put rewards of ISK on each of the plexes. So now, when you finish a plex, we get the LP, and you get cash payouts. That's something you could do. Well, yeah, you could get paid for probing now, but you got to convince somebody to pay you for those SIGs a day.
For gameplay for some time, so it was just suitable for this to be reflected in the core projects as well. So if you're running a militia corporation, you will be able to better guide your members about the objectives for today, which system we need to capture, which system we need to defend. And for the members, they will always be aware in which direction they should go, what they should be doing. So the options here, again, there's two types of project. It's separate type of project for capturing and separate for defending. And the option fields gives you the way to communicate to your members what are the objectives today, which systems to capture. Also, the complex type allows you to reward people differently for different type of complex, because different types of complexes have different
Yeah, we could have a large, a
values
small, a
added
medium.
to the victory conditions of particular system.
Although that'd be a lot of them, but
So
that's why
the
you
way
can
to
copy them.
incentivize them. Or maybe even you have a corporation that is not enlisted in the factional warfare. You can still create that project and then select specific faction, or maybe not, to incentivize a group of members that maybe are directly enlisted in your corp to actually do something or keep doing something. So this looks odd.
Do we get systems
So everyone
corrupted?
so far had cool pictures of spaceships and explosions, but some of us prefer spreadsheets.
Yes.
Just imagine doing
True.
Excel on this screen.
And I like kills more than damage a lot.
Manufacture item. This project type should improve the organization and in industrial corporations. The option fields here is the item type, where you select what type of item you want to be manufactured.
Oh yeah, we could totally manage
Who should
manufacturing
be the job owner,
projects
whether
this
that
way.
should
This
be
is
a
awesome.
private job installed by the character for themselves, or should that be a job installed on behalf of the corporation, and the location of the facility. So the combination of choices here allow you to create different scenarios where you, for example, you can first create a deliver item project to source the materials first, and then create this project to actually ask someone to build the thing. And you
The other thing we can do is we can provide the minerals, right? So we have the minerals up, and it's 200 million ISK worth of minerals, either in a contract or on market. And then you have the turn in the Raven that rewards 250. So then somebody can just look at it and be like, oh, buy that contract, turn in. I've made 50 million ISK. Easy peasy.
You can specify where it should be built. Maybe you have higher taxes there.
Or if
I
they
don't
can
know.
provide their own materials, then
And
we get to keep some of our
about the
materials.
individual and corporation. So the corporation doesn't benefit directly from private jobs, let's say. But maybe you're running a program where you want to show the ropes to the rookies. You want to incentivize them to do something, to build something that can be useful. Or maybe you just want to incentivize your members to build something in your competitors' HQ to raise their industrial index. That's up to you.
That's really funny.
So, what all these upgrades amount to?
Starfield stream.
For the people who run the corps, it is better organization, communication with your members, and monitoring of what is going on. And for the members, it is visibility into the direction of the corp and its health. And an easy answer to the question, what should I do now? And of course, money. But that's up to you guys. But wait, there is more. The scary dude. In addition to all the core project upgrades, we are also doing changes to the new player journey in EVE. Now new players can start the Air adventure, but they have to finish it fully or abandon it before they can try any other thing in the game. So come November,
Pretty good.
we're changing that. Now the NP will be more open, allowing the new players to break, to try other things, to maybe fly with you in a fleet for a while, and then come back to the NPE and finish it at their convenience. And they will be able to do that from the Air Opportunities window. And the Air Opportunities window itself getting an upgrade. So we are adding more types of content available there. And we are utilizing the system of tags with combination of the information about your location and the location of the content to present you the opportunities that are available to you nearby, and the opportunities that you might be interested in should be much easier to find. So this should be familiar, but let's make it a bit more scary. Kill 10 drifters or sleepers in abyssal space. Who struggles with this? Yes, yes, we know. We've heard your feedback about it. So this is a pretty difficult challenge for those of you who don't know. And it's not because drifters are hard to kill in abyssal dead space. That's not the problem. The problem is that you have no control over finding them there. So it may take 1 attempt or 10 to find drifters in the abyssal dead space to actually.
And even when you find them, especially if you're doing it in lower tier abyssals, you're not going to run into 10 of them at a time. You're going to run into like 3, right, at best, because you still have, well, I guess sleepers too, but like maybe 5. You could easily make it so you have to actually find a drifter room 3 different times in order to find it. That said, Stormbringers are awesome at the abyss.
The skill points, because we all want that. So this makes the reward not very accessible. We talked to Air Laboratories, since the accessibility is their specialty, and they came up with a solution. Air daily goals.
This is really good.
So for Air, the accessibility comes from the fact that you are able to choose your path to the end result. Like in the Air Career program, here you are free to choose which goals to complete to progress to the main reward of the day. While ISK and Evermarks will be assigned to every single challenge, the skill points will be awarded for completing 2 out of 4 challenges on a given day, and it is your choice which challenges to pick. So this should be much more accessible than hiding the skill points behind specific.
I recommend going to the Eve Uni article for the Angel Epic arc. It's really straightforward.
Challenge. Thank you.
So this is really cool. So basically, there's going to be different tasks that you can do for different things. So you can either kill NPCs or hack containers or web capsuleers in order to get these different points, and you'll get ISK or Evermarks or whatever. And then once you complete 2 of them, any 2 of these, then you'll get a little bit of skill points and potentially some Evermarks. So this allows people to like guarantee to get skill points, and be able to have different tasks to do. So this is way cooler. And also, I really like the kind of the filtering on the left-hand side. I just hope that the integration between the opportunities window and the agency is going to be nice and like tied together. I'd really like it as a unified UI, but I'll take what I can get.
Specific challenge. Thank you. And on the theme of empowering organizations, we're making the daily goals ISK rewards taxable by your corporations. To fund all these projects, Evermark rewards will be duplicated for the corps as per usual. And we're moving the daily goals to Air opportunities, so we'll have a better overview of your progress towards the main reward, but also you'll be able to see more details of each particular challenge. And a final note, every day the set of goals will be the same for all of you. That means it will be much easier for you to complete them all at once with all your alts.
That's whatever. But we can, like, every day we could do like a little fleet that's designed to get us all, the goals.
So this is what's coming in the November expansion. Core projects, Air opportunities and NP, and Air daily goals. And I would like to share a glimpse of what is coming to core projects after that. Just a glimpse.
So Alliance projects would be really great. Fleet participation, maybe. Intercorp accessibility. These are project funding. So like, this is actually a really interesting point where while we do our buyback program, we can automate a bunch of our buyback program. But like, let's say we sell our stuff. Like, let's say we could have a project to sell some of the stuff that we have. And then that ISK goes into a wallet because the market manager did it. How do I make sure that that money becomes ready, available again for next month's projects? Can we make the funding loop, like, can we close that loop? Is I think one of the, like, what some of these things mean.
Does it look good? All right. So because there's another thought that I would like to leave you with, and it needs just a short introduction. Last year, we released the Air Career program, in which we provided with a couple hundred goals that we created for you. And these goals are unlike any other challenges present in the game before. They are not missions that you need to sign up for, but rather challenges that monitor your progress nonetheless. And they just wait for you to cause a specific event. And that allowed us to create some weird missions, like spend ISK on the market, or enter a dead space, or make one blueprint copy, or lose a ship. Those are pretty unusual challenges compared to what was in the game before. Because thanks to this technology, anything can be a mission. Any type of action you can take in the game can be monitored and have a challenge made for it. And this is great because we can create a variety of content for you. However, the most meaningful content in the game is created by you. And this technology allows us to give you the tools to create missions, tasks, and challenges for others. The people among you
when you
some
get
shy
it.
Clapping. Don't be shy. This is great.
Honestly, Eve gets fun once you stop, like, trying to figure out how to, like, once you start having a goal and a plan and a thought and, like, not necessarily just trying to get numbers going up, but some sort of thing to dig into. That's when it really gets fun.
So the people among you who run corporations will easily be able to communicate with the members and monitor their progress and reward them for it. And for the members of the strong organizations, they will always have an answer to the question, what should I do now?
So big.
That is all from me. Please welcome on stage CCP Mischief. Thank you.
So big.
Hello, FanFest! So lovely to see you
Cannot wait to get you guys the edited Angel Cartel video.
all here. I'm CCP Mischief, a product manager for EVE Online. Like all of you here, I love games. They've been a massive part of my life ever since I can remember. And for as long as I can remember, I've always wondered how to make each of the titles I've tried a little bit better for me and for other players. And now, being a product manager at CCP, I get to do this for EVE Online and for all of you guys. Because without you, there is no EVE. I still remember my first days at CCP almost 5 years ago.
Okay, cool.
I'm
Cool.
good
We know
with this
you're a
MVD
person.
theme
We like you, that's fine.
In the pipe actions in EVE, and the key to unlocking and forming long-lasting relationships, that was the very perfect first step. Corporations and alliance emblems are available to purchase for Evermarks in Paragon stores for all existing ships in the game. And all ships released this year, including the ones coming in November, will get their dedicated sets with Havoc expansion. Now, with empires being at war and pirates raging through New Eden, it's more meaningful than ever for you to be able to show your allegiance by fitting a faction emblem on your ship. And for those of you who are proud of your professions, career emblems would be a great addition. Both types will be available in the near future, with custom emblems following farther down the line.
Still no Snake
We
Hat.
are also
Holding
looking
out for Snake
into
Hat.
enabling custom emblems fitting on structures, but more about this in just a few minutes.
Probably, Galand.
Speaking of structures, homes and safe havens for many, a source of headache for some. In Viridian Expansion, a new tool that allows structure design creation was introduced by Paragon.
In Viridian, we allowed you to paint your structures pink. Asterisk. In theory, you could paint it something other than pink.
Thanks to Skinner, you can now create a custom look for any of your standard Apple structures by
You can make
mixing
your Apple
and
structures
matching
any shade of pink you want.
available nanocoatings. And wow, it took you only 193 seconds, to be precise, to customize the first Fortizar.
Pink.
Courtesy of Holy Roaming Empire. And here are a few more examples of your creativity. You seem to like pink a lot.
I just think it's funny because, like, for years, everybody's like, no pink in my game. And as soon as we get the ability to customize colors, the first thing we do is pink. Yep.
And let's not forget about the 30 billion 1DQ Keepster design auction result. Surprise, surprise, it's pink. This made our day. We love seeing you guys finding creative ways to interact with Eve and with each other. And I'm pleased to say that this was just the beginning. In the following months, the tool will be expanded upon. We will add a library of patterns and materials so you can elevate your designs to go from this to this.
Ironically, you must have the Brave logo.
I didn't take a single penny from Brave to be featured here.
For some reason, just you can have all these cool skins, but they have to have the Brave logo. It's just a requirement.
We will be adding new sets of all the materials, nano coatings, and patterns to purchase directly from the tool. No travel required. And some of them will be dropping as rewards and loot.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Now, by now, some of you might be thinking, cool, Mischief, but structure customization is for corporation use only. What is there for an individual player? Well, we got you. We've heard you when you said, we want more ship skins. So how about we give you the option to create your own instead of giving you a limited variety to purchase? Yes. The next obvious step for Skinner is to open it up and allow all of you to fully customize your ship look however you want to.
Yeah.
Similar to structure designs, you will be able to combine nano coatings, patterns, materials to create your own design that then you can turn into a permanent skin with some flex.
Oh!
Designs will be free and shareable, but each individual has to convert them into a skin. Please.
This is literally what I've suggested since the beginning. Literally what I've suggested from the beginning. Let us author ourselves our own skins, but charge us Plex, so that way people don't want to fuck with it too much, right? And then once you have it, now you have like a BPC that you can print out and just hand out to people. This is exactly what
Please don't quote me on this, as everything is subjected to change at this point. Twitch chat, I'm also looking at you. And again, we will make sure you don't get bored with the choices. All mentioned design components will be available to purchase for different currencies, depending on the theme, but primarily for Evermarks and LPs. So you can create beauties like this. And maybe, that's a strong maybe, compete with Tumblr for the best design one day.
So you could like take a basic skin and then apply other layers on top of it.
And Alliance palettes, you can make sure that everyone wears
Alliance
a uniform
palettes is
when in
brilliant.
battle.
Alliance palettes is brilliant. I hadn't even thought of it, but like, this is how we work. And well, I'm not a graphics designer, but this is how graphics designers work, right? They have their palette, and from there, they're able to build all these different beautiful things that all look like they go together. So the idea of like an Alliance palette, fucking brilliant. Can I get the Gallente? Can I get the different Empire palettes, please? Including, because like I remember years ago, I asked like, what is the official RGB for Gallente green, and they wouldn't give it to me. So time's up. I want the different Empire palettes.
Now, we are aiming to get you the foundation of the ship skin design tool in 2024.
Woof.
Is that all? Not quite yet. Designs as amazing and skins as amazing as they are and will be are only just the beginning of what soon you will be able to do to express yourself in the new Eden.
Well, but that affects light
They
is
say
affected by
a
lighting,
picture
and I
is
want a
worth
formal
1,000 words.
color.
So let me show you a few examples
Like an official from
of
CCP
what
color.
soon, within the next 3 years, will be available
Within the next
for
3
you.
years.
Let's start with structures and surrounding space.
So you got banners, and then you've got lighting effects, and then you've got extra brave lighting, and then cloud effects, and then extra cloud effects, and then like looks like actual trees. I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be clouds or trees or whatever growing on the
And
top.
one more example.
So putting up rocks and other stuff like that.
Soon you will be able to control your lights on structures, display your favorite people's hologram on them, use animated sculptures,
Animated sculpture seems like it'd be cool.
or put up statues. Display custom banners, or even create them.
Yeah, now that we have a standard for banners, we can also create banners, which will be part of that whole color palette style. This is good stuff, man.
Fit emblems. Use effects like fireworks. Or volumetric clouds.
You can make your home base look like a secret hidden base somewhere.
And a very similar treatment can be applied to the insides of the structures. Let's take a peek. You will be able to control the mood of the stations by controlling lighting, access points, and of course, adding banners. Showcase the best performance in your organization.
I do like leaderboards.
Reward the biggest contributors with their hologram and station and their achievements. Showcase your next project. Or control shipdock lights.
Now, one of the things I was wondering is if they do that, will it be controlled by the individual who has the Nagelfar, or will that be controlled by the station owner?
And last but not least, what about ships? In the near future, you will be able to fit emblems, faction ones and custom ones. Of course, create your own custom skins. But also add activation effects. Or enjoy achievement-based skins.
I want a Logi one. So that way my Logi ship can, like, show off how badass I am. Those look really cool.
Use custom ship trails or even sound effects. All for your pleasure to combine however you want to show us your true colors. This might get you some friends or some torpedoes delivered straight to your hull. So it's time to start earning and saving up those Evermarks because you are going to need them.
So for the Starfield crossover for Evermarks, you can buy a little asteroid that follows behind your ship wherever you fly. It's just like right behind you. It just kind of follows you around everywhere. The Starfield crossover.
And we also have a few things in store for that. In response to your feedback and great CSM suggestions, we've decided to improve how Paragon missions work. All I can say right now that there will be more variety of those with a better access.
There's a bug. There's a bug in Starfield that can like attach an asteroid to your ship. So now every time you're flying around, there's like this asteroid that's just floating there at exactly the same distance from your ship. It's just a thing that can happen.
We're also looking into enabling corporations to have Paragon representatives in their stations to make items delivered.
I just want to say, this is fucking sus. This is sus as hell. Anybody who wants, like, okay, so a little bit of lore thing if you don't know. This girl is Aura, or not Aura, but Iris, and she is an artificial intelligence that has been given 8 physical bodies. So the idea of like putting your own very own Iris artificial intelligence instance in your station seems highly suspicious, just as far as I'm concerned.
Delivery headache-free. New daily challenges, and by new, I mean new ones, not the ones that are in the client at the moment, will provide you a new source of Evermarks. And of course, transaction logs for both Evermarks and LP will help you individuals and your organizations to track your earnings and spending. Okay, there's one more thing before I go. Hot topic since yesterday on Twitch chat. Who here wants to see cat ears in the game? Hands up!
I'll take a snake hat.
Thank you very much. Don't worry or worry, we're not adding those.
Oh.
But you did help me win a bet. Thank you very much for your all attention. I can't wait to see you all in space in your custom-made colorful skins.
How do you, in the same presentation, show off the Brave logo and also shut down cat ears? How do you even get away with that?
If you have any questions for what happened so far to Ghost, Nomad, or me, please come and see us at the panel room at 3 p.m. today. And now, welcome to the stage CCP Psych with more details on the November expansion.
Heartless, I know, right? Wrecking shot.
Hello, everybody.
Boy, he better talk quickly.
How are you doing? Are you having fun?
I got like half an hour to
Are
an
you
hour,
excited
most.
with everything you have just heard? Cool. So I guess you're ready to talk about how you are going to bring chaos to the front lines. No? Oh, I guess the presentation is done then. Yes? Yeah. So, we are building on the foundations we created last November with the Uprising expansion. And more specifically, direct enlistment. It unlocked aligning with the Empire militias without the need for you to leave your player corporation. Front lines. A new star system hierarchy based on relationships between neighboring system ownerships. And the advantage system, a new attribute in factional warfare that created the opportunity for new content while the added value on how you capture and the capture mechanics of factional warfare. So, what is coming this November? We have Zarzakh. We're introducing a new star system with a unique environment and a unique rule set. We have aligning with pirates. With direct enlistment in place,
I like it, Nick.
we are now aligning with NPC factions one step further. We will give you the ability to enlist with one of two pirate factions. Pirate insurgencies. Capsuleers that align with pirate factions will have the opportunity to get in the war zones and participate in new content. Corruption and suppression, a new foundational mechanic for us, two new attributes of star systems that can alter the rules within those systems. We have new pirate LP stores for the two factions that you will be able to align with, and of course, we have new ships. We have destroyers, we have battleships, battle cruisers, and we have an Angel Titan.
Oh, the girl that was just presented?
I want to take a pause here. I want to stop for a minute, and I want to try and create this model with you so that you can keep it in mind throughout this presentation, maybe throughout FanFest, and even beyond.
What was it? Can't remember.
I want us to see how everything we built last November and everything we're building this November can come together, how they fit together, and how they can potentially be used in the future and unlock opportunities for us. Aligning with pirates. So direct enlistment allowed us to expand on the ways Capsuleer pledged allegiance to an NPC Empire faction, and now we're using this to add pirates in the mix. We have front lines.
So one of the things that they've said, at least to some of the boots in the ground that I had, is that they're not 100% sure how the standings is going to work when it comes to the enlistment with the different pirates. That they're thinking about somewhere between -2 and -5 as being the cutoff point from where you cannot enlist yet. But this is all very much up for grabs. Good morning, Malak.
That gave us a star system hierarchy, and our pirate insurgencies will allow pirate-aligned players to rain havoc in the front lines and be rewarded with loyalty points. We have the advantage system that reinforced factional warfare gameplay. Corruption and suppression will reinforce the pirate insurgencies feature, which you will hear about in a minute. But also, it unlocks a huge opportunity space for us to utilize in the future, as these attributes exist outside of the systems that are in incursions.
There you go, Lazy.
So, building strong foundations. This means building and investing on the right technology for the future, where our goals, of course, is to deliver on the ultimate sci-fi experience. The technology that powers corruption and suppression allows us to create a link between Vanguard and EVE Online. From day one, we aim to have Vanguard objectives affect corruption to a degree in specific systems in EVE Online. We are approaching this with an open mindset, but at the same time, we are being mindful of EVE's ecosystem. We are taking the necessary precautions to not have the connection be too disruptive to start with, and at this point. Building the ultimate sci-fi experience is a marathon. We are taking it one step at a time, and we're building strong foundations. One last thing before we go into the details of November. Let us briefly see how the foundations we're building so far can potentially be used and further shape the future of New Eden. Our future goals include shaping the future and how wars are fought, shaping the future of war in New Eden. This can mean a few things. So to complete our mental model, let's add a few things in the future and in the things that the future may bring. The design paradigm we have been introducing can have very interesting applications with tweaks in other spaces of space, in other types of space. This will lead to some major revamps that will inevitably touch on other related mechanics.
So what I find the most interesting about this presentation, and I think might end up being the most telling thing about this particular frame, a lot of people are focusing on the whole like the Minmatar sided with the Caldari. Like a lot of people are focusing on that Sov warfare thing, which I do think that the frontline system, like the idea of adjacency, could be very useful in Sov. We've talked about this before. I've actually said that I think that it would work on a constellation level instead of a system level, but I digress. What I find interesting thing here is that it says frontlines in nullsec and then Sov warfare as a separate thing. Reminder, NPC nullsec exists. And this idea of like Amarr invading Stain, for example, is, you know, continues to be a thing. And Caldari now have sovereignty in nullsec. So getting these pirate groups to start struggling against each other through us is like basically the breaching point. Once they can get the pirates working, you know, fighting over sovereignty, then they can start rolling that out for player sovereignty. Now, here's my real question. Once they get player sovereignty into the foundation system or into these systems, will they be able to introduce a corruption mechanic so that way third party can come in and take advantage of the empires being at war, the player empires?
So I'm going to leave this for a minute there, and when you're ready, we'll continue. Okay, enough about the future. Let's talk about November. Zarzakh, a place of wonder. Through Eve Ops Epiphany, you capsuleers discovered 4 Jovian gates, quite fast, I might add. And since yesterday, these gates are now open, and you can visit Zarzakh. It's a system with a very special environment and a unique rule set. The environment comes with dangers, as I think CCP Fozzy showcased yesterday. So explore at your own risk. Inside Zarzakh, the Deathless are building a shipcaster which allow pirate-aligned players to use and launch insurgencies in the war zones. Pirates are establishing a new type of forward operating base in the war zones that they can use as their base, and it will act as the landing pad for this shipcaster. The Deathless have also...
So when our shipcaster, when the Deathless shipcaster connects to the war zone, there will be a fob there. So when we jump into the war zone, we're not jumping in blindly like the shipcasters do right now. In fact, I've heard that we will be tethered when we jump in.
Also established a base inside an ancient Jovian megastructure they call the Fulcrum. They have extended an invite to Guristas and Angels to join them. And they will soon ask for capsuleer help to bring it to life.
I wonder.
Aligning with pirates, fulfilling the pirate fantasy. So, the Guristas and the Angels are recruiting. With the next expansion, you will be able to align with one of the 2 factions. The enlistment process will be the same as it is with Empire militias, and this means direct enlistment and also options for corporation and alliances.
Join the invited, become one of the invited.
Pirates are, of course, at war with FW militias in their area of space, meaning there are specific rules of engagement with the players that are aligned with those factions. Pirate-aligned players can earn new loyalty points by raiding the war zones and through the insurgency feature.
So as an Angel Cartel, you should be at war with both the Amarr and the Minmatar, which should mean that you will have difficulty going into Amarr or Minmatar high-sec as long as you remain enlisted. And of course, Amarr and Minmatar militiamen can attack you freely wherever you are, as long as you are enlisted. As soon as you leave enlistment, that will likely disappear. CCP's tried to avoid like long-term lasting implications, like screwing up your standings like you used to be able to in faction warfare a lot easier.
The new Guristas and Angel ships are unique to these LP stores. Pirate-aligned players will also get some special benefits and access to Zarzakh that you will see in November.
I'll get to stop paying money to go in.
In our pursuit of defining the future of war, we are building another foundational system in EVE Online. Corruption represents the amount of criminal activity that is happening within a star system, while suppression represents the scale of law enforcement operations in that system.
Exactly, Converge.
As corruption and suppression increase in the system, they will trigger effects and they will alter the rules within those systems. Both can be active at the same time, and you will hear more about this in a minute.
Both can be active at the same time. That's an important thing to note.
It's foundational work for us because we are looking at corruption and suppression as natural traits of star systems, even for those systems that are outside of ongoing insurgencies. Insurgencies will be the first source that generates corruption and the way that corruption is being removed from systems, while Vanguard will be the second source. For now, Vanguard will only affect active insurgency systems. Corruption and suppression's value resets at each system following the completion of a pirate insurgency. Some systems, though, we have heightened default values, and this means Pirate HQ systems, we have an increased default corruption value, meaning certain effects will always be active there. And the same goes for the Empire, HQ systems and suppression, which has different effects, always active at those systems.
So like in talking will always be heightened suppression.
And before I leave the stage, I want to bring this for one final view. Just keep it in mind throughout the rest of the presentation, throughout FanFest, and for the days to come. Now, please welcome on stage CCP K1P1.
All right, now we get into the meat and potatoes of it.
Hello, FanFest. I'm CCP K1P1, and now that
2 hours and
CCP
45
Psych
minutes
has
into the
laid
video.
out the foundations of the future of war, let's dive into what pirate insurgencies are that will come in the Havoc expansion in November. So due to the effect of the ongoing factional war, there are systems in New Eden that are weakened, making them the perfect target for the pirates to raid from their Zarzakh base. In these insurgencies, a set of systems is selected to loot, and as they loot, they expand outwards, setting their sights on more systems. The Empire militias can respond and attempt to put down this insurgency and force them to flee. While this is similar to FW mechanics, there are a few key differences. Pirate insurgencies represent discrete, asymmetric warfare inside the war zones. It has a beginning and an end, as well as a winner and a loser. The war zone for an insurgency is dynamically created based on player activity and can stretch beyond the bounds of traditional factional warfare space. But for now, they won't go into nullsec or any system with a status of 0.8 or above.
So null security and 0.8 or above is currently going to be immune to insurgencies.
Factional warfare is a tug of war. The
It's closer,
insurgencies
yeah,
are a
invasions,
race.
not incursions. But yes.
So how do the war zone and the insurgency interact with one another? This is the factional warfare map with the front lines, command operations, and rearguard systems. This is the same map with a potential pirate insurgency layer. The insurgency layer sits independently on top of the factional warfare systems and can easily extend into non-FW space.
And of course,
including
corruption is colored
Fayssal.
purple.
So let's go through the flow of how the insurgency works. Pirate leadership, or AI, will select a set of systems for the insurgency to begin. And there, they will place a pirate forward operating base. The insurgency then spreads 3 jumps in all directions from the starting system. and the system will always be in one of 3 states. Insurgency HQ, where the pirate FOB is, active insurgency with no FOB, or no insurgency. So it's similar to incursions, but with players instead of NPCs. So how do the pirates and the Empire players impact from this point forward? I'm going to need your help. So I want to take this middle section right here.
These are very similar to like Metal Storms or Invasions, right? So the idea is that the fire fob is the main attack point, and then it spreads like it's a 3-jump reach from there. Okay. I don't understand what you mean by repost.
And you're going to be my Pirate Aligned players.
Oh. Well, so if you're talking about this video that we're recording right now, my videos are always immediately available on YouTube. Just like Eve's are. I'm watching their main stream. I just happen to know where it is in the stream.
And I'm going to take this side, and you will be my Empire Aligned players.
Yeah. It'll just automatically be there.
So I want you to keep in mind that everyone in the middle is fighting with everyone on the outside, but at the same time, you are also fighting with you.
This explanation's a little bit weird, but...
So because you were lucky enough to sit in the middle and got here early, you also get to use the shipcaster from Zarzakh, which will shoot you straight into your pirate FOB, into your insurgency area. So don't forget that I said that the pirate insurgencies are not a tug-of-war like factional warfare, but they're a race.
It does it automatically.
And once the insurgency has started, the race has begun. Pirate Aligned players, right here in the middle, will seek to plunder the systems in the insurgency zone and increase corruption in that system. And at the same time, the FW militias on the side will be acting as the law enforcement to push back against these pirate raids. And by increasing suppression in insurgency systems, these anti-pirates will attempt to put down the insurgency and force the pirates to flee.
The thing that she doesn't really stress enough here that I want to lean in on is, remember, the suppressors are at war with each other. This doesn't stop the faction warfare conflict. And this is a front line, which means it's like where all of the fighting is. So suddenly, not only are they having to fight with each other, but they're also having to run the sites that we spawn in order to kick us out. And the question is, how much can they work together? You know, if there's almost like a game theory in there, right? Like if the Caldari and the Gallente are fighting, whichever side spends more time taking out us, they're going to potentially lose their front line. It's going to be awesome. I am a pirate. What are you talking about? No. The Deathless, I am one of the invited. You too can become invited.
Fully corrupted systems, like the one in dark purple, will give the pirates points and the opportunities to spread the insurgency.
Yar har fiddly dee.
And fully suppressed systems, like the one in green, will give the Empire militias points.
No, Sidewinder, because the furthest that they can possibly be pushed is to the edges of their high sec, and that is always a frontline system. So, like, even if every single Caldari or Gallente system was owned by the Caldari, Old Man Star, Messabir, and a couple others would still be a frontline. Which, by the way, means that if Old Man Star becomes a frontline, then it can be a pirate fob, which means that the corruption can extend pretty deep into Gallente high sec if you did that.
Points and the opportunity to stop the insurgency altogether. But how does it work? Well, let's look at corruption first, but I want to make sure that my empires on the sides don't fall asleep because it's the same mechanics. In order to spread corruption, the Pirate Aligned players will need to complete specific activities to increase the level of corruption in that system. And the corruption level will determine the types of activities that are available. So for example, in this system that we're looking at, they haven't reached any stages of corruption. So there's only one activity available, the corporate outpost raid, which can be completed to progress corruption and receive rewards.
Correct, Marcus.
So once your pirate insurgents have reached stage 1 of corruption, they will trigger the system-wide effects at that level. Now, I do want to make it very clear.
When she talks about the different sites, though, I want to point something out. So these basically are the equivalent of invasions, right? We have minor conduits, major conduits, and or maybe even emerging conduits, minor conduits. This is how it was in invasions, too. As we escalated in invasion, harder and harder sites spawned, which allowed us to gain even more points. So if you think about it, like in this system, it's a frontline system. So we still have all of the faction warfare sites, but now there's these new PvE sites that need to be run that we want to do, both for the empires and for the pirates. And you can go in and disrupt each other's sites, you know? So the pirates can, the pirates can go into the pro faction warfare guys and stop them when they're trying to run their sites. Heck, we could even mess with their faction warfare sites. But who wins in faction warfare doesn't really matter to us. We just want to cause corruption and chaos between them.
So once your pirate insurgents have...
And remember, this is per level. So each system has a corruption layer. So, you know, if they suppress one system, well, we can move to another system and start corrupting it, right? Like these are all happening at the same time. They're all put in play at the same time.
Have reached stage 1 of corruption. They will trigger the system-wide effects at that level.
Oh, you think that
now,
they're the same sites? Maybe.
I do want to make it very clear that none of these system-wide effects are final, and they're subject to internal testing and feedback. And we'd love your feedback. But I'm really glad then that this is not recorded. So for example, with that being said, our first system-wide effect could be increased PvP loot drops for pirate aligned players, with the player that kills the player that deals the killing blow. And because you've reached stage 1 of corruption, that also means that you've unlocked more activities. So now you have 2 activities to choose from in order to increase corruption and increase the different types of rewards that your fellow pirates can receive.
And so this is how I think it might be 2 different sites, because I can be at corruption stage 2. So we have corruption stage 2 sites spawning, but suppression still be below 1. And so suppression still have only 1 site available to them. This is actually the way it was in invasions too.
This will continue with every level of corruption that you achieve in the system, and the system-wide effects will stack. So every new stage of corruption will unlock new effects, such as increased pirate gang spawns, empire police will stop spawning. Stage 3 could include advantage decrease for system owners. And stage 4 could possibly be warp speed multiplier for pirate insurgents.
So, Sutonia, on behalf of the invited, might I request, what I want is at a certain tier here, pirate ships now count as Navy ships for the purposes of plexes. I want to get this corruption to the point where I can bring my Macarials into their battlefields. That's what I want. I am curious as to what happens when both the corruption and the suppression gets high, because like Empire Police stop spawning, but pirate gangs are spawning. So now you've got pirate gangs and faction warfare gangs slamming into each other.
Now, once you reach level 4 of corruption, the insurgency will also spread 1 system in every direction from that level 4 system. And at level 5, pirates will have reached maximum corruption. But more on that in a bit, because at the same time that everyone here in the middle is trying to increase corruption, everyone on the outsides is also trying to increase suppression. So the system effects...
But they're also fighting each other.
Through their hard work include increased pirate bounties, increased militia LP, reduced corruption gains in a system, and triggers the spawning of EdenCom security forces. Stage 4 could add...
So I'm saying, like, what happens if corruption and suppression both get up to 3, right? It is kind of unfortunate because, like, the corruption side doesn't have a decrease in suppression gains, but suppression does have a decrease in corruption gain. So if they get past 3, they're going to have a big advantage for the final half of the race.
Web scram range bonuses for Empire pilots.
I have heard about Star Wars Empires at War corruption.
And once my anti-pirates on the sides here reach level 5 of suppression, that system is considered fully suppressed. And you'll receive significant system effects, like upgraded turrets deployed on stations and gates. And once you reach...
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of negative feedback about it being EdenCom, especially since there's a lot of faction warfare players that are not friendly with EdenCom. So that is definitely a subject for change. But I think that the more important was like Empire spawns, right? And it's okay, so you can have both the Empires and the Pirates that are operating on their own behaviors, and then the standard Navy be shut off. Neat.
Reach level 5 of suppression, that also means that the pirates can never reach level 5 of corruption in that system.
So never reach level 5 in that system. I think that they mean that in terms of in this particular insurgency, right? Like if another... One of the things that's noted, at least from my understanding, is that when this insurgency is over, everything gets reset. So these will be fully suppressed until the insurgency is over. Just like these are, you know, there might be full corruption, but those go away once the insurgency is over.
And once you've fully suppressed a predetermined number of systems, let's say 5, then the pirate FOB becomes vulnerable with only a single reinforcement timer. And if my Empire militias on the side are able to successfully destroy that FOB, then they will have they will claim victory, and all Capsuleers that participated in putting down the insurgency will get rewards and bonuses. On the other hand,
so if they suppress enough systems, then they can go after the pirate FOB, blow it up. They have one timer, and if they succeed, they win.
My pirates in the middle don't look so easily won. And so if they reach maximum corruption, they will trigger a meaningful change in the whole nature of the system. And it'll depend on where the system is. So, for example, if you reach maximum corruption in a system that's high sec, it'll start to look a lot more like low sec. And if the system is in low sec, it'll start to look a lot more like null sec.
But again, that's
and if they're able to successfully corrupt 5 systems, then they will have won the insurgency, and the pirate line players who participated in that insurgency will receive rewards and bonuses. So not only do you need to keep track of the corruption per system, but you also need to keep track of the amount of systems that you have either fully suppressed or fully corrupted. Every fully suppressed or fully corrupted system will give your...
She did say permanent change, but they've also said... I think that they mean permanent for the course of the... Yeah, it's permanent until the end of the invasion. Or the insurrection, whatever you want to call it.
...side a point. And here...
And I mean, this is really important because otherwise this becomes just we fight over the different systems until they're all locked in and then we're done, just like invasions. This makes it so that it doesn't finish when we run out of systems to fight over.
You can see that the pirates have won the insurgency with their 5 fully corrupt systems.
However, remember, these successful insurgencies could easily change the course of the plot, right? Like, as we do these insurgencies, the ongoing story will likely respond to our successes and failures. No, it's not going to be a one. Lazy one. The person that you were arguing with works for CCP.
But the system...
Satonia is voice of God in this channel.
...is self-balancing. So the more insurgencies you win, the more points you'll have to get next time due to...
But they said, well, war headquarters can get corrupted, but they have a built-in corruption protection. And I don't know if Intaki can be corrupted. Is Intaki even close enough to the war zone to become corrupted? I'm not even sure.
Do the ambition modifier. Following the completion of an insurgency, the system will return to its previous owner with system control at 0% and a new FOB location for a new insurgency.
Oh, system control set to 0%. So yeah, I guess their entire fight, does their fight pause during the... Oh, it's 2 jumps? Okay, good. Well, what about the? I mean, I'm sure the trigger gonna. Here's the thing: we've only heard about what the Angels and the Garistas are doing. We have Blooders coming in Crimson Harvest. We have Sancha coming with the Winter expansion. We have Trig. I'm pretty sure everyone is going to want to weigh in on everything that's going on as we move towards Vanguard. So don't worry about that. But the thing is that they have enough to show off right now that they don't even need to bring up those things yet. They can leave those to be a surprise for later. So just relax. But I like the idea that they can fight over the system while we're still corrupting it.
Will be chosen after some time. And all of this information will be available to you in a dashboard, not unlike the one you see before.
An insurgency inside of a Trig Minor victory that happens to be an Sancha headquarters invasion or incursion.
For me. So to increase the levels of corruption or suppression, we are introducing 4 new pirate activities. They are the Corporate Outpost Raid, the Pirate Laundering Center or Anti-Pirate Security Post, the Mining Fleet Ambush, and the Warehouse Raid. So the Corporate Outpost Raid and the Warehouse Raid are an iteration on our FW complexes. We got some really great feedback from a lot of our players, and we aim to improve on the existing FW gameplay by making them more engaging, with more things to shoot and more variation.
So if this notice, it says like 1 through 5, T1 ships and plus, the reward is shared, and its type is PvE, right? And then this one is 20 plus per side, pirate battle cruisers, up to 20 get rewarded, and PvE. So this first one is more like a normal plex where the reward is shared, just normally. Whereas a mining fleet ambush is more like a -5, where up to 5 people get the full reward and then it gets split. And the warehouse raid is closer to like the battlefields, where up to 20 people get rewarded. I don't know if I want to work with, cyber zombies and blood cultists, to be totally honest. No, there's a lot of good reasons why it's Angels and Garistas. Like, there are so many good reasons why it's Angels and Garistas that I find it difficult to pin down which one is my guess as to what made it actually become that way. It kind of feels like it always had to be Garistas and Angels. Serpentis should be following right behind, though. But you got to remember, like, Serpentis doesn't really do much on their own when it comes to, like, military development, because they rely on the Guardian Angels for that. They do research. They're like research and development and science wing. And I'm sure the Syndicate, I'm sure the Syndicate's going to get involved.
Including a more even contest between the pirates and the anti-pirates. And like the FW complexes, these activities will have a variety of values and sizes. With the Mining Fleet Ambush and the Laundering Center and Security Post, we are providing our pirate players here in the middle with the classical fantasy of raiding mining fleets and outposts and fighting off the defenders, while my militia members on the sides are able to play the hero and attempt to rescue the fleet or secure the outposts. And I've got to tell you,
so yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. So it's one location, conflicting goals. That might be true.
Meetings that I've been in where we're talking about the classical pirate fantasy is really starting.
Yeah. Serps are the business, Angels are the brawn, for sure. Well, like, Angels aren't allowed to do illegal business, while the Serpentis are.
To make me have some really weird dreams. So these activities provide a safe place for us to test new ideas, and if you love them, we would be able to backport some of the gameplay into the FW complexes. And of course, successfully completing these activities will reward you with loot, ISK, and LP. Speaking of LP, as my Pirate Align players who
I see skins.
Well done at picking the right seat, you will receive either the Garistas or the Angel Cartel Insurgent LP. And this is comparable to the Empire Militia LP that we introduced with the Factional Warfare. You can spend it in dedicated LP stores and purchase all existing and new pirate ship BPCs. And since we're talking about pirate ships, let's take a look at what you can fly come November. Behind door number 1, We have the Mekubal class destroyer, a fast projectile boat that has a few turret hardpoints and a good damage bonus, so you can choose between artilleries and autocannons to fit your playstyle.
I imagine it is, Sitonia.
Here you can see the details for this ship, which you might have seen on TQ, but it's including its 634 slot layout for your theory crafting.
Hey, what are you guys thinking about the fact that these destroyers don't have the destroyer bonus? I feel like these guys feel like they're very lackluster in comparison to their frigate counterpart. And part of the reason why is because all destroyers have a base roll bonus for projection, including the Algos that gets drone speed bonus, and yet the Merkable and the Mamba don't. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Behind door number 2,
Battle cruisers are
we
look
have
good.
the Mamba class destroyer, a light missile drone boat with extra drone capacity so you can launch refreshed waves of drones to attack your enemy, complete with a 7-4-2 layout. Behold.
I don't know about that, Marcus. It looks like it's going to be pretty decent.
Behind door number 3, we have the Quzxpon class battle cruiser, which is what you might expect.
I mean, you're correct. They could be suited for a different kind of site, but the thing is that like, what's weird is their bonuses are exactly the same as like the frigate. So like in the case of the Worm versus the Mamba does the exact same amount of drone damage. Like they have the exact same drones. It's kind of bizarre.
From Angel Designs with a brand new hull. The most agile battle cruiser with a fall-off bonus and a 7-5-6 layout. For your reading pleasure.
Now, the Quzxpon. Oh, you still my heart.
And our last door, we have the Alligator class battle cruiser, which has a simple design, a 7-6-4 layout, and an added Garistas bonus. The Alligator is only a bit faster than a Drake, but with a high DPS.
FC, can I bring my Drake?
Check out the teeth on this bad boy.
That's going to be the new PvE killer. All right, like this is going to be alpha clones wanting to run level 3 missions. This is your new ship. Get used to it. This is where you grow into. You start out with a Drake and you move your way into an Alligator. That's it. That's your life now. Get used to it. I love how it takes the guys a few seconds to crunch through it and then be like, yeah, okay, we like it.
There is the matter of one final ship.
So, by the way, before we get into this one, I do want to say a lot of people are bringing up, oh, why does the Angels get unique models and the Garistas don't? The thing is that like this actually is thematic with the race. Like the Garistas in particular love the fact that they're corrupting Caldari ships. Like they will purposefully make their ships look like Caldari ships so that way they're making fun of the Caldari. So that's why their ships look exactly the same. The Angel stuff is all built from like basically scratch. Yeah, as opposed to the Tristan we have at home. Yeah.
The Angel Cartel has finally finished their designs for the long-awaited Azariel-class Titan, and they are ready to reward Capsuleers. It is the ultimate hyper-dunking platform with high damage and mobility that make it particularly strong for hit-and-run tactics. So I know you've seen this video before, and it's a pretty video, but here are the stats.
So here's the thing about the Azrael. Okay, it's a real simple one. Where are we going to build it? Right? Like the loyal Angels are going to earn it by doing stuff in the faction warfare war zone and live in Zarzakh. You need sovereignty to build a Titan. So it's going to be something that like the very people who build up and earn and work for this stuff might not have the facilities to actually build it. No, you're right. We might be able to just buy it, but then if you could buy it in Zarzakh, then you have a Titan in Zarzakh, which is a whole nother kettle of fish. So yeah, it's going to be a big, weird question about, like, how are we going to build the Angel Titan? Where are we going to be able to build the Angel Titans? There is Angel NPC space, just thrown out there.
The ship has an...
No, because they've specifically said that these are going to be from the LP store and not fobs.
877 layout, and will be well...
I mean, I would love to
worth
have one
the
in
wait.
Zarzakh. For sure. We don't have a Triglavian World Arc, though. Well, but Titans
only need to be a
can't
little
dock
bit
in
faster at
stations under
taking
normal
pictures.
conditions. So it'd be the only Titan that can dock in stations?
So in the next couple of months, you will get an expanded core projects.
Right. It'll be exclusive to the Insurgency LP store, but you'll get a BPC, right, Satonia? I'm still going to have to take the... So I'm going to have to work for the Angels, and then I'm going to have to go to Sovereignty to build that Angel Titan? That's the question that I have.
Library, daily goals, pirate insurgencies, pirate enlistment, new activities, and yes, new ships. And we can't wait to see what chaos you unleash with it, all in New Eden. We'll be in the second stage with a panel. If you have any questions on pirate insurgencies and pirate enlistment, any of the
Okay.
ships, we'd love to get your feedback and have your questions, and we look forward to seeing you later today. Thank you.
All right. I think that might be it. Yep, that's it. That's the whole presentation, guys. So today we went over the art and the Havoc panels. Got to check out a bunch of stuff. Thank you, Satonia, for dropping in. Quick questions before we go. I got to go very, very soon. Let me go ahead and close this up. We are in Zarzakh right now. But just for funsies, we're just going to go jump out through Turner and get out of here. Might not have should have said that ahead of time, but you know, here we go.
Warp drive active.
There's a warp in Zarzakh. I am not testing any fulcrum theories with this ship right now, no. I'll come back later with a ship that I can use. There are no bubbles in Zarzakh, correct. Are there bubbles on the other sides? Like, could you bubble one of the null entrances? Because the fact that there wasn't a bubble in the entrance really confused me, actually. There's enough people in local that I was pretty sure I should have been able to get bubbled. But yeah. There is the Zarzakh gate. Well, no, not in Turner. But I came in through the Angel side. There was a ton of people on the Angel side, but there was no gate bubble there. And I was really confused because, like, I'm pretty sure I would have expected a bubble to be on the gate at this point. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, so they could have Hictors and Dictors, but not anchorable bubbles. Makes sense. All right. Well, I've been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. If you enjoyed the stream, please make sure to like it, and thank you all for coming and checking it out. We have a lot more to cover. One of the things I noticed is that, like, I have a lot of videos. There's over 600 videos on my YouTube channel covering everything from lore to mechanics, etc., etc. Anything you could possibly want. please consider going and checking out some of the backlogs, subscribing to the channel if you can to get all my videos that are live. Consider becoming a member and supporting the channel either through membership or Patreon. You can join us, the Convocation of Empyreans, or become one of the invited in-game or via our Discord, which will be linked down below. If you haven't checked out EVE Online, or if you haven't gotten your 1,000,000 free SP, please use the link down below in order to get yourself 1,000,000 free SP, which is worth 40 days of alpha training time. Can be used on basically anything. Woo! All right. Well, you know, there's merch, there's cool cups, we've got other stuff going on. We have a lot to talk about, and the insurgency has only begun. So I do want to thank especially my top supporters of Abyssus, Aikawarazu Chan, Arkas Ilring, Belligerent Neckbeard, Black Rose Noble, Dajat Lemmont, Drake, Golden Age Stories, Jay Kuhn, Lumi, Midnight Space Monkey, Milk, Not Just Fun, Seeds of Plenty, Serenolin with No Eyes, Syliana Vel'ash, Tgen Tgen, Nephilim, Grendel, Yantey Lepouf, Zaul Nex, as well as my immortal tier patrons and supporters, 745 MPSI, Ebolete, Arydanika the Queen, May, Malak Starfire, Merc Utan, Nihilum, LM1, Sheesh, and Rid. Thank you guys so much. We have a lot more to do. I'll see you soon, but until next time, see you in space.
You have been promoted.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Olaf. You might want to become a member so that way you can get my videos a little bit early for the edited ones too. And for the new emotes. There's new emotes, guys. There's new emotes, including the Deathless emote. So show off your new colors. True colors shining through. All right. 07.
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city